Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto, son of Hephaestus and Aphrodite. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ENGINEER forever and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Mom's wake-up call. Now what? Leo asked, biting a Slim Jim. I dunno, Percy shrugged as there was a flash of light and something plopped on the table. Oh come on. He complained, not more reading on the stupid blonde. Phil's Dilemma. The Lost Hero, Piper read after picking it up, getting her mother to squeal. Son of Love. Oh yes, time for love to reign supreme. The love goddess pumped her fist in glee. What? Apollo said, looking at the title again and groaned, aw man, no more of my awesome kid. He complained. Seems so, Artemis frowned. So, who wants to read? Annabeth questioned as Piper grinned. I got this, she said with smug, time for love to shine indeed. Oh sweetie, go. Aphrodite cheered. Oh here we go, Artemis palmed her face, she'd never live this down, she just knew it. Piper excitedly began to read about her new awesome brother. The sunlight peeked through the window of a rundown apartment in Kanahagakure no Sato, where a sole teenage boy lay in bed. Well, in is being a bit generous. The teen was sprawled across the bed while lying on his stomach, sheets falling partially on the floor along with a leg, while a bit of drool came out of the corner of his mouth. Well, Annabeth looked to her boyfriend, seems you aren't the only one to do that. It is a very common thing. Percy defended himself, getting Annabeth to just smirk at him in amusement. His head was covered by short messy blonde hair, spiking uncontrollably in several places, and on both of his cheeks were 3 thin marks, looking akin to whiskers. Which makes him adorable and handsome, the proud mother said. The teen's arms suddenly wrapped around the pillow his head rested on, and he smiled in his dreaming state. He giggled sleepily and addressed his dream in mumbles, speaking to the pillow softly. Do we even want to know? Leo asked the question, getting many headshakes of no. Whatever he was dreaming of was interrupted by the loud buzzing of his alarm clock, startling the blonde from his sleep with jolt. Blearily, he looked around for the source of his current state of consciousness and found it. Raising a clenched fist, the sleeping teen then dropped it on the device, shattering it with ease. He must go through a dozen of those if that's his reaction. Apollo said, glad his invention was making profit. Who keeps buying those stupid things? And setting them for so early? Asked the blonde with a growl. He closed, he deserved to sleep, damn it. Wasn't saving the world from a madman trying to become a god enough for that at least? Wait what? Percy asked Piper as she read in the side text. Yep, some guy was trying to become a god, freaky weird. Piper said. It had only been 3 months since the end of the 4th Shinobi World War. Woo. Ares cheered, 4th World War. Damn, where was I? He demanded, upset he missed it. The Cold War between the 5 great shinobi nations now over. Ooh, Ares jeered with a thumbs down. The nations were separate but allied, and peace was reigning supreme over the small continent known as the Elemental Nations. Now that's just bullshit. Ares, Aphrodite frowned, my son brought peace to a warring continent, that's something amazing. But it puts me out of a job. The war god whined childishly. The chakra entities known as the Biju were mostly gone, hiding away from humanity to protect the world from another, would-be revival of their original form. The Shinju, a primordial entity that was partially responsible for the emergence of the shinobi that dominated the continent. The gods shifted uncomfortably at the mention of a primordial entity. Its defeat would go down in history as one of the hardest battles known to shinobi. And Naruto was right there on the front lines. He still had the occasional nightmare about it coming back, about this peace just being a dream. With another groan at being unable to go back to sleep, the blonde pushed himself up and got off of the bed. Groggily, the blonde stumbled from his bedroom to the small kitchen in only his boxers. He walked past an amused-looking red-headed woman, her violet eyes twinkling as she watched him wave at her tiredly. Isn't that Kushina? Apollo questioned. Yep, Hermes grinned, but since died is his mom. Oh this is going to be weird, yet amazingly funny. Apollo snickered. Exposing a small circle in the palm of his right hand. Morning mom, said the blonde. Good morning Naruto. The woman said with a small giggle. He doesn't even realize it. Hazel giggled. Give him a minute, Piper said, defending her awesome brother, he just woke up. The blonde, Naruto, nodded tiredly in acceptance of her and continued his trek to the kitchen. He opened his fridge when it hit him. His mother, Kushina Uzumaki, had been dead since he was a baby. We all aren't the brightest after just waking up. Jason said as Percy nodded, he knew that all too well. So that meant one of 2 things. Either he just said hello to the worst assassin on this side of the planet. That would be seemingly terrible. Naiko admitted with a nod of interest. Or he was still dreaming. Sad fact is no, sweetie. Aphrodite smirked, wondering how her other was going to tease him. Finding the first option to be ludicrous, hell it was downright laughable, Naruto just decided to go with a dream and continued to pull out his morning serving of milk for his cereal. Good for him. Oh, be quiet. Hades grumbled to his wheat for brain sister. So which dream is this? You guys are alive again? Naruto asked as he grabbed a bowl for his morning breakfast. Your father is still very much dead, said Kushina informatively. She had a small smile on her face as she watched her son prepare his breakfast nonchalantly. Well, Minato in this one is mortal, but still so handsome, the love goddess blushed. Oh, she wondered how they met. Was it the same how Kushina met Apollo? Never had a dream with just you alive, said Naruto, with a thoughtful hum. He poured his milk into the dry cereal waiting in the bowl and then put the milk back into the fridge. He walked out of the kitchen to look at his mother still sitting on the couch patiently with a small smile on her face. Never had a dream with just that alive either for that matter. Am I Hokage yet? No. The demigods answered as one. No, said Kushina, another giggle escaping her lips as her son pouted with a spoon in his mouth. Seriously? Naruto asked. He dropped his spoon back into his cereal into his bowl. Lamest dream ever. I know the feeling bro, Leo nodded solemnly, all those hot chicks never being real. It would be if this was a dream, Naruto, said Kushina with a small titter of laughter at his confused face. But it has to be, said Naruto with a frown. He pointed at her with his spoon in hand. I mean you're supposed to be, you know. Awkward death remark, Hades said as he got some looks that he shrugged too. What? I can be funny. Kushina's smile dimmed a little at the reminder of that night 16 years ago. Curse the frailty of mortal bodies, making her leave such a brilliant baby alone as her then husband died alongside her. Splitting a small portion of herself off into a mortal shell was no problem, considering her flexible and constantly growing domain, she was rather powerful and often overlooked. I know, the Lady of Doves nodded, it is so true. She glanced at Artemis, isn't that right Artemis? The huntress just scowled at her with crossed arms. Yes, well, I may have died in that body, but I live on in my main form, said Kushina. Naruto arched a brow and set his bowl of cereal down. Because that isn't going to confuse him. Athena told her eyes. Main form, are you a chakra entity? Naruto asked. But you feel like a civilian. Finally became a bit more observant, haven't you? Kushina said. A smile tugged at her lips. In a way, I am a projection, a clone of sorts. I need you, your family needs you. I would have come sooner, but you were needed here. Road trip. Leo joked, getting some laughs. Why yeah, whatever you want, mom, said Naruto, a bit taken aback. Where do I need to go? I will take you as far as I can, said Kushina, standing with a smile on her face at his acceptance. Then you must find Camp Half-Blood. Ah, there we go. Athena said but looked to the goddess, not even going to explain it to him. Aphrodite shrugged, figuring it would be better if he was found. Plus she had faith he would do fine. Half-Blood? It will become clear to you when you arrive, sweetheart, said Kushina taking a step towards him. He took a step back. Afraid of mother? Artemis tauntingly asked the love goddess, smirking at the scowl she got. Alright, but can I say goodbye? He asked. See? Aphrodite told her rival, he just wants to say goodbye to his friends. Artemis huffed, yes. She waved off. Kushina bit her lip, she didn't have a lot of time here before they noticed her absence from North America. Yes, notice. Zu said, glancing at the love goddess, who in turn had a sheepish smile on her face. An idea hit her. The clone technique. Use your clones to say goodbye, you know the secret about them, don't you? Yeah, I retain you're a genius mom. Said Naruto, making his mother smile back at him. Aphrodite sent a smug glance to Artemis and Athena, hear that? The godly daughters of Zeus just rolled their eyes. I try, she said. Hurry, we haven't much time. Naruto nodded and stood straight up, holding his hands out in front of him. His index and middle fingers formed a cross in front of him. There was a flux of energy before the room became filled with duplicates, as Naruto named his signature technique. Hajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, multi-shadow clone technique. Best move ever. Annabeth pouted, it was like they were taunting her. Alright guys, you know what to do, said Naruto to his clones, making each of them nod before they vanished in small explosions of chakra-infused smoke, similar to their dismissals. The blonde smiled proudly back at his mother. Ready to go. Good, said Kushina. She walked over to her son and put her hand on his shoulder. This could get a bit bumpy. You are actually teleporting him? Zeus asked the love goddess. Said goddess rolled her eyes, well yes, Zeus, it seems I am. Her tone held uncaring of his accusing tone. Why? I'm not exactly supposed to be doing this, but it's necessary for what's to come, she said. See, necessary. The goddess said and Zeus just grumbled. He tried to ask her more about it, but before he could the air folded around them and the smell of lavender filled his nose. Their bodies became translucent and slowly faded away. He didn't feel anything for a second and then they re-emerged and he felt it. The burning, the pain in all of his body. Saying it hurt a lot was an understatement. It felt like he was regrowing skin that had been torn off one bit at a time. He heard himself cry out, felt his legs give and could feel gravity taking its hold on him. Naruto hit the ground unconscious, his body perfectly fine and intact, though his clothes had been changed to more appropriate jeans and a solid white t-shirt. So Piper said slowly, after nearly killing him from sheer pain, you still changed his clothes. Well, yes, he needs to blend in sweetie, and those pajamas weren't going to cut it for my child. Okay mom, just checking. Kushina knelt down next to him, her form flickering lightly. She cupped Naruto's face with both of her hands, kissing him softly on the forehead to give him a bit of a helping hand in this new world before pulling back. Her time was up, she succeeded in her goal and was being called back to be questioned by Zeus. She smiled sadly, rubbing her thumb along Naruto's cheek one last time before returning to Olympus to explain herself. Oh, like he'll do anything about it. Aphrodite rolled her eyes. Yes, I would. The king argued. No, he won't. The rest of the Olympians said as one, getting Zeus to flare his nostrils. Be strong, my little maelstrom, said Kushina before she disappeared once again, leaving Naruto unconscious on the cold dirt as a cool springtime breeze washed over him. A good name for a child of yours, Aphrodite. Poseidon nodded as the goddess winked at him. Athena rolled her eyes, please, just because she came from sea foam. And you came from a split headache, your argument is mute. The sea god smirked as the wisdom goddess clicked her jaw shut and gave him a glare. Waking up with a groan, Naruto blearily examined his surroundings before holding his head. His clones sure had to deal with a lot of different reactions, it was a good thing he sent 3 to Tsunade and Sakura, how the third clones managed to get through the rest of their chiding of him just accepting someone pretending to be your mom and leaving to who knows where on a whim being irresponsible, he hadn't a clue. Stupid pink-haired wench. The Lady of Dove spat like that girl was worthy of her child. Ha. At least Kakashi and Iruka were more supportive, though they had their own suspicions. Hell, the person he was really worried about was his brother-in-arms rival Sasuke. Aw, he's all buddy with that douche. Apollo whined. He turned good or something? Percy questioned, getting Jason to shrug. It could happen. Apollo snorted and crossed his arms, I don't see it. All that bastard did upon hearing Naruto's apologetic farewell was slam the door on his face. Wow, what an ass. Piper frowned. The douche. I know. Apollo agreed with his not son, man, it sucked that Naruto wasn't his kid in this story. Man, why is everything always so complicated with him? Naruto asked with a whine. His best friend was a pain in the ass to understand. It was like dealing with a girl sometimes. Well, he acts like one, an attention seeker. Dionysa said from reading of the boy. With a grunt, Naruto rolled to his upper back and kipped onto his feet like he hadn't just landed with what felt like the force of a freight train. The blonde twisted his body to loosen his core muscles and then stretched out his arms above his head. That was one hell of a Shunshin no jutsu. Wonder if I can get mom to teach me that. Odds only sadly. The god said in a huff, just because they had cool teleporting powers didn't mean they were going to share them. Hey buddy. A voice called out to him, making Naruto turn and look at the speaker. He was a decently short guy, around Naruto's height, wearing a strange hat that looked like a duck's bill attached to a bowl of some sort, his curly hair sticking out this way and that from underneath it. He had a small beard on his chin, an awesome orange shirt, and had long pants similar to the ones Naruto woke up in, as well as some covered sandals on his feet. Wow, that's really lucky that a satyr found him so fast. Annabeth blinked. Well, Thalia said, he is an older demigod, so no doubt his scent would be all over the place. True. Hi. Naruto said, greeting the newcomer as he always does when not annoyed. Energetically. Joy, Naiko rolled his eyes, it wasn't that he disliked energetic people, it was just they could be annoying at times. You do know that you're not supposed to venture this far into Central Park without a weapon, right? Asked the bearded guy. Oh, he thinks he knows. Leo muttered, but snickered a little, man was this going to be funny. Central Park, Naruto asked. Where's that? The bearded guy looked at Naruto like he was an alien. Why, you do know what Central Park is, right? He could be from another country. Leo exclaimed as some rolled their eyes, he was. I'm guessing a park of some kind, said Naruto, a blonde eyebrow arching in confusion and amusement. How old are you? The guy asked. Whoa, goat boy, Hermes said, at least ask his name and buy dinner first. 17. Said Naruto, as though it were obvious. 17. The guy looked horrified, which honestly looked hilarious on his face. You do know why you shouldn't be out here alone, right? Should I? I am Tails, said the bearded guy. What are you, new to this? How can you have never been attacked? Now that isn't true, Apollo said, he's been attacked by ninjas. Still not monsters. Artemis pointed out. Are they art? Are they? I've been attacked tons of times, said Naruto with a frown. What? Really? So you know about the camp, then? Camp? I feel sorry for the goat. Demeter frowned, it sounded frustrating. Why does this always happen to me? The bearded guy said, moaning as he rubbed his face with both hands. Dropping his hands to the side, he sighed and then looked at Naruto with what could be called a serious glare. Alright, look, we don't normally get greens your age, but there's a camp for kids like you. That's not a very encouraging start. Hazel winced. I highly doubt that, said Naruto as he tensed a bit and got ready for a fight. This guy's anxiety was going off the charts. And then there was the feeling in the air. Like that the natural chakra here was poisoned. Or like something very important was missing. Like Pan. Hermes frowned, sigh, such a good kid. Haven't you ever wondered who your parent was? Asked the bearded guy. I know who my parents are. Naruto said hotly, his eyes narrowing and his pupils became small slits. I think you should have the satyrs go through PR training, Hermes pointed out. Meh, the wine god shrugged, not my problem. He said. You think you do, said the guy. So who raised you, mom or dad? For your information, neither of them did. And point one goes to Goat Boy. Nico said, really tact man. Oh man, buddy, look Save it, said Naruto brushing past the guy with a frown on his face. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm sure we can find some good PR programs. Oh stuff it Hermes. Mr. T snipped. Wait, I said leave me alone, said Naruto as he walked away. He may have accepted that he had awesome parents, but that didn't mean he wanted to remember them not being there. Especially after how his father's reanimated corpse sacrificed himself to save the blonde. It was like losing the third all over again. Okay, Hades groaned, feeling a headache coming along, who raised the dead? I doesn't say, Piper informed the god. Breed. The guy with the beard and the strange hat followed him as he wandered through the woods. Wait. Stop following me. No means no. Leo cried out. Stanger Dranger. Nico followed up as they laughed. I will if you just stop and wait. Let me finish what I was saying. Reminding me of what I didn't have. Ouch, Hazel winced, really, bad view honest. Okay, usually with kids like you. We're the same age. If you would just listen. Pass. This is important. It really is, Athena remarked, but still, the satyr failed his opening, so it was only natural for the boy to shut him out. Don't care. I got something more important to do. But. Look, unless you can tell me where my mom is. Yes. Naruto stopped to look at the guy. Well, maybe. You need to find your mom? Yes and no lying or you get ninja knifed. Ares laughed. She brought me here to help the rest of my family, said Naruto with a firm nod. He promised to help his mom, and Naruto Uzumaki never went back on his word. Has the almost same attitude, though he seems less of a smartass. Thalia commented with a quirked lip. Aw, Leo pouted, he likes smartass Naruto, he was funny as hell. Least he isn't going to be messing with me. Percy said. Yet. Said the demigods as one, getting the son of the sea to pout. Okay, well as I was saying earlier wait, no this is related to your mom. I promise. Naruto rolled his eyes and stopped walking, turning to face the bearded guy. Well. Look, there's a camp for kids like you who need to find their parents, so to speak. Just come with me and we can sort this all out with the head counselor's help. It sounds so creepy the way he says that. Annabeth complained, seriously, where was Grover when you needed him? Naruto looked at the guy, his blue eyes searching the guy's brown. Empathetically, he knew that the guy wasn't lying. Logically, he's given no reason to be lying. Still, he had to be careful. Naruto didn't know where he was and what the reason behind his mother's sudden arrival was, so he had to play it carefully. The war had made him realize that sometimes not always what it seemed. Or is good like that. Ares gave a stern nod, it was a cold hard truth. Alright, you've got my attention, said Naruto. Awesome, I wonder if this is how Underwood felt when he met Percy Jackson, said the bearded guy with a smile on his face. I highly doubt that. Percy said in a dry tone. Agreed. Said Thalia and Annabeth, no way was it like how they met the goat boy either. He held his hand out. Name's Billy. Billy G. Overtree. Why do satyrs have last names like that? I mean, Underwood, Hedge, and now Overtree. Leo questioned. Nature spirits. Dionysus answered. Weird name, said Naruto as he took the hand and shook it. Naruto Uzumaki. And you say my name is weird? Billy asked, taking his hand back. He's from Japan. Apollo countered. And it isn't weird. Poseidon argued, it was an amazing name. So, you ready to do some hardcore walking? Walking? Naruto asked, smiling in amusement. Yeah, unless you know how to drive. Billy asked. He was a bit hopeful in that aspect. What like a cart? Barely are barbarians. Leo said aghast. Billy's hopeful expression turned into one of horror once again. Please tell me you're joking. Are you talking about one of those train things? You have those here. Immortales, you're not joking. Billy dragged a hand down his face. Okay, Naruto, I guess it's a good thing you and me are going to have a long walk. The explanations of modern civilization. Athena smiled, this was going to be amusing. Billy led Naruto out of Central Park, explaining the advancement of technology and summarizing the history of the United States as best he could. Naruto, as soon as he made it to West 59th Street, gaped at the lights and sounds of the cars. Billy smirked at it. If the blonde thought that was impressive, wait until he got to Times Square. Oh man, that was a fast lesson. Annabeth snickered, you think he understood it? He's smart, I'm sure he did. Naiko supported the blonde ninja, still liking him even if Bianca was gone in this dimension. It sucked, but hey, at least he saw one where she was alive, and that made all the difference. They had to hurry, though. Billy could smell the monsters gathering. Whoever this kid's parent was, they were strong. Artemis snorted at that as Aphrodite glared at her, I am. Yes, of course. I'm right here. Piper frowned at the moon goddess. Forgive me, Piper. I meant nothing by you. Artemis smiled at the girl. I just really hope it's not one of those three and that it is his mother, Billy thought. Well, the oath is no more. Zeus pointed out as Hera glared at him, know that I would indulge. Bullshit. Said Hades and Poseidon, getting the king to glare at them for cutting him off. He watched as Naruto looked around, swiveling his head this way and that in childlike wonder. It was interesting to see how this guy acted. One moment he was reminded of Cabin 6, the glare that was set on him was that damned Athena glare, he was sure of it. Oh? Athena asked in amusement, what's this? She asked as Annabeth perked up at that tidbit. But something told him that wasn't the case. There was something about this guy that reminded him of Grover, too. That would be the sage thing, very cool by the way. Jason noted. Wow, this is amazing. Naruto said as he and Billy walked down 7th Street. He was in awe at how large the city was. Konoha had nothing on it. And you're saying that this is one city of many states? Yep. At the boy on a computer. Leo suggested with a twinkle in his eye. Wow, Naruto whistled as he turned around while walking, his eyes on the towers that just continued to rise. He nearly walked right into the street again, only to be saved by Billy, who pulled him back from the road just as a car raced by. Thanks. Alias snorted with a snicker, oh man, that is just plain funny. Piper frowned, no it isn't. He could have gotten hurt. Your dad hit him and he was just fine. Shut up. No problem, said Billy, shaking his head in disbelief. This kid is too much. At one moment he looks like he's going to kill me, but at another he's carefree as can be. There's only one Olympian I know that matches that description, but he doesn't give off the dreamy vibe, and I haven't felt compelled to do anything he says yet. Not all my children have it. Aphrodite said. Yeah, just me and Drew, good call on the latter mom. Now, no talk back young lady. What's all that light up ahead? Naruto asked, curious of the blinding light that stood out even among the bright headlights of the cars that drove past. Billy smirked, knowing what would come soon. His smirk fell as the horrid smell of underground hit his nose. It isn't horrid. Hades scowled. Poseidon rolled his eyes, just because you can't smell it. It isn't that bad, is it? Hades asked and not no answer. His eyes were wide, his breathing sped up, and a young satyr kicked his shoes off so he could run better, revealing his hooves. We need to move, now. Billy said, shoving the blonde forward into traffic. Don't get hit by a car and keep running. Why? Naruto asked as he easily kept pace with the satyr. Wow, that's kinda hard. Percy said, Grover was a speedy goat when he wanted to be. The horn blared, making Naruto look to the left and see a car coming at him and Billy. The driver looked irate that someone dared to run across the street when he had an obvious red light. His irate look turned to shock when the crazy blonde that chose to run across the street grabbed the other teen and cleared the rest of the 55 feet in one jump. Wow, Spider-Man leap. Apollo whistled, good on him. He just jumped 55 feet in Times Square. Annabeth said in a slow tone, trying to let it sink in. The mortals are going to flip, I just know it. Percy said with a smirk since he had that kind of lucky, and so had Naruto. It was a universal truth. Thanks, said Billy, a bit shocked from the sudden jump. Naruto grabbed him by the back of his shirt and helped him back to his feet as they continued to run towards the brightly lit portion of the city. Naruto spared a glance behind him and saw a large cloud of shadow, several red lights coming from it. The horde of hellhounds, nice way to start the morning. Percy said sarcastically. I think that's cool. They wouldn't bother you, Nico, so of course. His eyebrows narrowed in thought before returning his attention ahead of him. So, we running from the giant black cloud? He asked his new friend. It's a cloud. It's never a cloud. Die Immortales, why is it a cloud? Pursue cloud. Leo proclaimed, but a cough from Zeus, along with a pointed glare, shut the Latino up. I take it that's not normal, then? Naruto asked as they ran. All he got were more concerned whimpers from the satyr. They broke into the small square of blindingly bright lights, which made Naruto pause from culture shock and awe. Noise was all he heard and the lights were so distracting, he barely heard Billy telling him to hurry up. He did hear Billy cry out his name in warning as the cloud engulfed the blonde foreigner. Aw, dead in 5 minutes, sucks for him. Just like last time for Apollo's version. Ares? Aphrodite cried out at her boyfriend. Wah? Was being honest. Billy fell to his knees as he heard the snarls and the tearing. The kid didn't even make it to camp, poor guy. And this was his first one too. Ouch, Dahlia winced, that had to suck for a first-time satyr. Hopefully it got easier like Grover said it would. Guess not everyone can be like Grover Underwood, getting the son of Poseidon to camp alive with ease. Ease? Percy asked questioningly, last I checked, I pulled him over the property line. He also got a son of Hades and found the daughters of Hades and Zeus also. Nico pointed that tersely. Still, there was a small part of Billy G. Overtree that hoped the new guy would make it. He will. Piper said knowingly, a smirk coming onto her face at the coming lines. There was sudden yelping, and Billy had to drop to the ground to avoid being hit by a flying giant black mastiff, a hellhound. Billy looked back at the cloud with wide eyes, seeing it grow up and the yelps increasing. I said get off. Naruto said, standing abruptly with one of the hellhounds held above his head. Cause he's Hercules. Leo sang out jokingly from the old show. Getting some laughs since it looked like something from the opening sequence. Vera scowled, be silent Leo Valdez. Yes, Grandma. The other hellhounds were forced to tumble back as he stood, quickly recovering and snarling at the blonde. Naruto glared back at the few in front of him. Don't forget your friend. The hellhound in his hands learned to fly before being reunited with 2 members of its pack and taking out a streetlight with the distance they got. And it's good. Hermes cheered with a little flag. The hellhound tried to take Naruto by surprise, leaping at him from behind. Naruto turned and punched it square in the nose, stopping it midair and making it fly back. When another tried the same tactic, he spun on the ball of his foot and brought his heel across the side of the monster dog's face, sending it flying. Seeing that these simple attacks were doing nothing, the hellhounds rushed him once again. Must be masochist hound. Percy? Annabeth said, scandalized. What? It's true. Billy watched as the blonde punched, kicked, and in one instance bit the hellhounds like they were as light as a feather and their teeth were made of clouds. Who bits a hellhound? Frank said in bewilderment. It's to prove dominance. Ares said sternly, show him who's in charge. This was insane, what he was seeing. What he heard next kicked his adrenaline into overdrive. Sirens, mortals had invented them to alert, and alert they did. The hellhounds' assault continued as the white and blue vehicles of the New York Police Department swarmed Times Square. Oh joy, Zeus groaned, and they just cleaned up Manhattan for order's sake. The sounds of a helicopter were heard and a light was shined down on the fight between what Billy knew were hellhounds and Naruto Uzumaki. A few more helicopters joined the scene and a couple of the mega screens in Times Square changed to the news, showing the fight as it happened. See, he's already so popular, Piper. Aphrodite smiled, great to have a famous big brother, right? I don't think that is the best kind of famous, Mom. Nonsense. Apollo said, no such thing a bad press I say. Says you. Hades grumbled. There was another yelp that got Billy's attention and he dove to the side to avoid being flattened by the flying hellhound. Amazing how good his aim is for almost hitting the satyr every time. Hermes said dryly. I think it's funny. Ares argued. And that says a lot about you. The hellhound in question dissolved as soon as its back hit the ground, revealing that Naruto had given enough internal damage, possibly a collapsed lung or something of the sort, to kill it. The news cameras zoomed in when a blue light appeared in the center of the mound of lions that the cameras saw. Lions? Really? Mortals see what they want, Percy. Hazel told the boy. But lions? We released one in Vegas. Annabeth brought up. That's Vegas. Rasenrangan. Naruto's voice cried out as the hellhounds were sent flying from the pile they were in, dissolving into gold dust that scattered in the wind. Naruto drove what appeared to be a blue bowl right into the face of the last hellhound, grinding it into golden dust and leaving him alone with 2 blue spheres glowing in his hands. Who else wants some chakra? Leo asked in a rocky voice. High above the Empire State Building, the Olympians watched through Hephaestus's massive televised screen, a holographic image that duplicated the effects of a television, acting like a sort of one-way iris messaging. One Olympian in particular smiled proudly at the image of the blonde with a glowing ball of energy, eviscerating the hellhound sent after him. "Of course you're all watching this." Thalia muttered, "Why not watch a demigod fight for his life," though Naruto looked like he was just exercising to be honest. Said a man with light blonde hair, dressed like a work-first businessman with a Bluetooth device in his ear. He lowered the stylish, yet professional sunglasses down his nose as he watched the fight before him. Hermes was impressed with what he saw and said what many were thinking. "Thanks for that, Hermes." "Anytime, Apollo." "Whose child is this?" asked the Queen of Olympus. She was intrigued, but the boy was strong like another certain oaf. He does seemed interesting, just as his other hair trailed off, plus if Kushina did marry Minato well, amazing that Aphrodite had her first proper demigod. Interesting indeed. And he only became that way after ingesting something that was not rightfully his. Hera gave her husband a pointed look, which he readily ignored for his sake. "Yes, whose is it?" The green-eyed man wearing the Tony Bahama shirt and sandals asked, smirking at the well-dressed blue-eyed man that sat next to the queen. "Oh, blonde hair and blue eyes, he must be mine." Zeus mocked. "Not mine," said Zeus with a frown. He was certain that he'd only had interactions with Ms. Grace. "Thank order for small mercies." Hera said in distaste, getting Thalia to glare at her and Jason to shift a bit. The giggle came from the beautiful woman seated next to the creator of their screen. Her eyes flickered to purple and her hair to red for a brief moment that had a woman with raven-colored hair narrowing her gaze. "Ooh, Athena is thinking." Poseidon said in a mocking stage whispered. "At least I do, squid god." The raven-haired woman looked from the smiling Aphrodite to the screen and back several times before her gray eyes widened in realization. I don't know how but you were the loudmouth tomato." Athena said, glaring at the smirking goddess of love. "Seems Minato was your son, Athena." Aphrodite smiled coyly, "Hello mother in LAW." "Be silent, now," was the cold tone of the war goddess. Aphrodite just gave the cat who ate the canary smile. "Guilty," said Aphrodite, practically singing the word. She leaned back on her throne with a smile as the other Olympians looked at her. "What can I say, love works in mysterious ways. So very true. I will find out what you did, Aphrodite," said Athena, scowling. She returned her gaze to the blonde on the screen. "And I will make sure you do not corrupt another." "How dare you?" Aphrodite fumed, "I did not corrupt Annabeth, I made Perkabeth possible." "Exactly, you corrupted her." "Mom." Annabeth exclaimed, but the goddess didn't even acknowledge her cry of displeasure. "You can try, Hootie," said Aphrodite. "Hootie. I like that one. I think I'll use it." "Just try, squid god." "I will, Hootie." Smirking as Athena's scowl deepened. "He's already been in contact with his mother." "Aphrodite," said Zeus in displeasure at the openly disobedient comment. "You know the law." "She should," Zeus added. "But I wouldn't." Aphrodite added in a sing-song tone. "I never raised him," said Aphrodite with a pretty frown. "I merely brought him from his father's home." "Yes, nothing wrong with that at all." The love goddess huffed. "Where he should have remained to follow in his father's footsteps," Athena said with a scowl. "Yes, Aphrodite, to be the military leader of his state. And you whisked him away from that. His family needed him," was the goddess of love's retort. "Like those old crones would have let him try," said Aphrodite with a scowl. "They're more biased than Romans. A lot more volatile, too." "Hey." The Romans in the room frowned. "She isn't wrong." Athena begrudgingly agreed. "Sounds like my kind of people," said Ares with a grin. "They are." He withered under the glare his girlfriend sent his way. "After all the hell Naruto went through to unite the countries, I would never let you uproot it, Ares," said Aphrodite, scowling at the god of war. "It's partially your fault that he had to bother with it to begin with." "Honestly, Ares." Aphrodite and Athena frowned at him, but both were proud that their blood brought peace to his continent. That was a big achievement for any demigod. "Oh, you're talking about the moving continent," Apollo said, snapping his fingers when he caught on. "I thought it was in Antarctica." Artemis noted. "Seems not this time." He looked at the image that was paused. "I never would have guessed. Looks like an East Coast kid." "Well, he does seem like my kind of kid," Apollo joked, getting some laughs. "He got all those handsome qualities from his father," said Aphrodite, sighing in bliss at the memory that made Ares scowl. "Someone jealous." "Fuck you, cripple." Surprisingly, Athena joined her bloodlusting brother in scowling at the goddess of love's words. "Amazing." Zeus muttered, them joining together for a common goal also kind of scary. "We were told not to intervene with the lands of the moving continent, Aphrodite," said Athena. Zeus nodded as he recalled making that decree. "Yet you still had Minato anyway," said Aphrodite with a smirk. "Burn." "Be quiet, Hermes." Athena glared her gray eyes at her younger brother. "And I didn't intervene. I simply spread the love with absent-minded control, much like Apollo does with the sun or Artemis the moon. Well, you are absent-minded, Artemis conceded, getting the goddess to scowl prettily at her. The twins nodded in agreement with that, using their godly energy to keep track of the island they were originally born on. Whoa whoa. Apollo halted Piper, now it's on the island we were born on? He questioned as his sister was smirking, such nostalgia. Seems so. Athena said in intrigue, it must jump around in each dimension or something. It was probably why that land was so potent with strange energy that mimicked their own coursing through their veins. Of course, the titan that enlarged it to the size of a small continent was sleeping and wouldn't reveal the reasons behind why she had. Wonder who she is? Percy wondered. Probably mom. Apollo answered the boy. Still, you disobeyed that decree when you brought the boy here, said Zeus, looking at the blonde as he looked around at the mortal authorities. Well, I'm sure the mortals could handle him, I believe a final test is in order. Oh, here we go. Poseidon groaned. Ah, the boy can surely handle it. The god king waved off. I think Zeus just wants to see the wind attack. Hades mocked, getting Zeus red in embarrassment at the accurate statement. Is that really necessary? Poseidon asked his brother. Uncle P, you can't play favorites because he's named after stuff that happens in your domain, said Apollo, getting strange looks. What? Naruto Uzumaki. It's Japanese, I know this stuff. Poseidon brooded at that, it was the same reason he liked the boy, plus he was from Aphrodite, sea foam. The kid had his support unlike Apollo's version squid god, little brat. While Poseidon brooded at being called out on why he was so intrigued in the boy, Zeus looked back at the blonde. Naruto was looking around with wide eyes at the flashing lights and the screens with his face on it from different angles. Underneath him was the headline superheroes exist. Teen destroys lions in Times Square. Zeus scratched his beard and thought before nodding. They do and the dude gets the spotlight. Where's our spotlight? Leo demanded. We get it in our little community. Hazel told him. So not the same, Hazel. The boy will be tested. Zeus said, confirming his decision while Aphrodite scowled and Athena frowned. Send in a hydra. Father. Athena frowned as Ares laughed giddily. It sounds fair. Zeus shrugged. Of course you would agree with yourself. The sea god rolled his eyes. Message sent, said Hermes, finishing the request to Hades for a monster. Yeah, more work for me. Hades said in a sarcastic tone. He looked at his father. You sure he should be doing this in Times Square? I know. Hermes nodded, seriously, Times Square was a bustle for business and to destroy it. It was one of New York's best sights. The mortals will forget by tomorrow, said Zeus. Hecate and Hypnos will ensure that. Of course you would say that. Hera rolled her eyes, but was intrigued to see what was to come. Hey Billy. Naruto asked his friend as the NYPD trained weapons on him. Why yeah? Said the stunt satyr. He'd never seen anything like that, even during the war, no demigod had survived a swarm. Alone, no. Annabeth nodded but looked to her boyfriend, except a certain Mr. Impervious. I try. The sea child smiled brightly. What are they doing? Naruto asked, gesturing to the cop setting up a perimeter. Well, kids like you aren't exactly normal, said Billy, who was rapidly trying to think of reasons why this was happening. Man, if it was his fault the mortals rediscovered the Olympians, he was so going to get it. Still looking into how to torture satyrs after they die. Hades helpfully added. But. Zeus nodded, seriously, if this wet behind the ear satyr let the secret out, he was going to get it. But what are they doing? With their hands? Naruto asked, seeing all the small objects in the uniformed men's hands. Kid's about to find out about guns the hard way. Ares snickered but cowed when his girlfriend glared at him. Great, he couldn't joke as much since he was Deit's kid now. He guessed this was the city's military considering all of the similar uniforms. The blue clothes didn't look very protective though, and those hats were ridiculous. He bet his whole supply of kunai could finish these guys off. He is good with knives. Annabeth noted, he probably could before a thought hit her, and she smiled, he's my nephew. Ha. Treated me like a little sister, but now who's the one in charge? Percy rolled his eyes as Annabeth was thinking about how her other would use this tidbit of information. Put your hands above your head or we will shoot. Said one of the policemen. Like this? Naruto asked, raising his hands up. He wasn't really in the mood to deal with the city's military, but he wasn't exactly eager to fight them either. Smart. Athena nodded, just escape or wait for the Hydra. Favoritism. Ha, funny coming from you squid god. The goddess retorted, getting a glower from her rival. Get on your knees and put your hands behind your head. Said the policeman. Well, now he was just being silly. Naruto had already surrendered, hadn't he? Naruto, just do what he says, said Billy, doing exactly as the policeman ordered. Naruto gave his new friend a confused look before complying, getting down on his knees and interlacing his hands behind his head. Police started to move forward, their weapons still trained on the blonde kneeling in front of them, but then the ground suddenly moved between them and the blonde. "Don't move." An officer ordered, keeping his gun trained on Naruto. "Yes, blame the godling for moving the ground." Hades said with a mocking nod of his head, "Please, that was his children." "It's not me." Naruto said back, watching as the ground cracked and shifted. An unfortunate officer standing too close to the cracking was sent flying as the concrete-covered ground shattered and a large-scaled head shot up from under the ground. It looked like a diamond, and shortly afterward, 4 more heads that looked exactly the same sprouted close beside it. "Bed up on the Hydra's back." "Leo." The kids groaned who got the reference. "Fall back. Get the people out of the way. Run." Were the cries of the policemen as whatever they saw scared them enough to retreat. "At least they know what's important." Percy mumbled, "Still, never on your side until you really needed them." But it was dead." Billy said, falling to his butt and scooting back in fear of what stood before him. Settling on a massive lizard-like body was the Hydra, 5 heads focused on the unclaimed demigod that knelt before it. Billy's eyes widened when he recognized the target. "Naruto, run." Naruto didn't need to be told to move because he rolled out of the way as soon as one head dove at him with its mouth open wide. Avoiding being bitten by razor-sharp teeth was at the top of Naruto's to-do list at the moment. He dodged again, this time avoiding another head, before deciding to make some distractions. He crossed his fingers in front of him and focused the chakra. "Ah, the cannon fodder move." Ares rubbed his chin, "Best move ever for a mini-army." "Page Bunshin no jutsu." Naruto said, making 8 clones appear next to him. They rushed at the monster while Naruto went to help the now bulging-eyed Billy up from his seat. "But how but you I?" Billy failed to find words, stumbling over himself as Naruto got him to his fey hooves. "Yeah, bet the goat didn't see that coming." Jason laughed. "I bet I was surprised too with Apollo Naruto." Annabeth added with a quirked lip, "Still, seeing that as a child would have been exciting." "Explain later." "What is it and how do I kill it?" Naruto asked, pulling Billy with him when a clone was dispelled due to a ball of acid sent from one of the Hydra's mouths. Well, that just replaced the razor-like teeth at the top of Naruto's to-do list. "Acid or teeth, pick your way to die." Naiko instructed in a smooth voice. "Hydra," said Billy, pulling himself together. "Every head you cut off, to replace it. Sharp claws and teeth, acid spit and reported to have fire breath." The textbook analysis, good for a satyr. Athena nodded, impressed by the on-the-feet analysis. "Good, thanks. So how do I kill it if I can't cut the heads off?" Naruto asked. So much for being good under pressure." Piper winced, Hedge was more on his feet, hooves, whatever. "Well. I'm working on it, alright, I'm working on it." Billy said. "Geez, I'm not a member of Cabin 6, cut me some slack." "Like he's supposed to know what that means, even if Naruto is a legacy." Annabeth said. "What am I supposed to do until then?" Naruto asked. Billy shrugged haplessly before pulling the blonde with him out of the way of another shot of acid. "Avoid dying." Billy said as they both got up from the ground. "Well," Hermes said, "that is the general idea, most of the time anyway." "So improvising," said Naruto. He nodded with a grin. "I'm good at that. Like any skilled tactician." Athena nodded with pride. "Boss." A clone shouted, making Naruto turn to look at it. Making eye contact with the clone that signaled him, it dispelled and Naruto got its idea, now technically his idea, and he beamed. "You said don't cut off the head, right?" Naruto asked. "Unless you can cauterize the neck before it regrows 2 more heads," said Billy. "I got an inkling that Blondie is going to do more than that." Leo snickered. "Remembering that tidbit from the legends. That's how Heracles killed it." "Ucles." Hera smirked at that. "Explain later, duck." The two dropped as a stream of fire was shot from one of the now 6 heads. Apparently, the clone that had dispelled used a Rasengan on one head and Naruto winced as another clone was forcibly dispelled. Those tails were something to watch for, too. Still, a befitting technique for a legacy of mine. The war goddess beamed, she wondered who invented it. "So close range is no go for me," said Naruto. He put 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled, signaling 2 of his clones, before waving them over. When they managed to break away and join him he pointed at the Coca-Cola sign not too far away. "Go gather natural chakra, we're going to shuriken that thing." "Yeah, he is going to do what we think he is." Jason grinned, wanting to see it firsthand. "Sure he can get enough nature chakra from where he is?" Frank asked. "New York isn't exactly a nature place." He pointed out. "The boy is good at getting things done," Hades said, actually rooting for the boy. "Alright. You're the boss, boss." The clones leapt over the police barricade, running for the building they were told to go to at top speed, and then, much to the onlookers' surprise, up the side of said building. Because he's the amazing Spider-Man. Apollo whistled as Aphrodite sighed in content. Oh, I hope he gets that many girls to fall for him. She squealed at the very thought giddily. Naruto watched them go, creating more clones to buy him some time. Now with the knowledge of his plan, the clones knew just to keep the Hydra's attention instead of trying to kill it. He waited and stalled for a good 15 minutes before sending another clone up to the two meditating ones. When both were dispelled, Naruto's eyes dilated, becoming toad-like and golden as he felt the area's nature chakra fill him, an orange pigment appearing over his eyelids. So that's the proper form of it. Demeter said with a muse of interest. It looks stunning. Aphrodite said, beaming at her son's makeup. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. Wonder why? Hermes frowned with another sad sigh. With his permanent chakra battery sleeping off the after effects of the war, Naruto would have to make do with his minor sage mode. Glaring at the Hydra with his fist clenched, the blonde was sure it would be. His hand was lifted above him and another Rasengan started to form, but a clone was created beside him, holding both hands up at the small blue ball of energy. The Rasengan changed, becoming larger and more like a throwing star, a shuriken. Zeus and his demigod children had eager looks on their faces. Naruto's clones dispelled at once, confirming his thoughts on the civilians moved far enough back to not be killed by the coming attack. Good call. Annabeth nodded. The clones gone had the Hydra shifting all 6 heads on him, making Naruto grin at it. All 6 of the Hydra's heads roared at him challengingly and he felt its anger. Not at him specifically, but what he was. So he's empathic? Artemis said in interest. Seems so, my children are good at feeling emotions after all. Aphrodite commented. The word floated between Naruto's empathic link with the Hydra. Godling. Well that was something to ask Billy about. Oh yeah, it really was. Percy smirked, it was weird for him too. For now, Naruto reared his hand back and then launched the attack forward. Buitin. Rasen Shuriken. Naruto said as he threw the ball of energy at the Hydra. And cue our reactions. Apollo shouted like a director. Olympus watched the attack connect and their eyes widened as the intensity of it eradicated the Hydra's body. Not even golden dust remained or the trophy fang that was expected of it. Dude. Leo whistled, wind one was better than the light one. Hands down. Amazing. Zeus appraised and felt cheated that his grandson lost such an amazing move. Stupid Hades. A pity he lost the spoil, Artemis commented, it was well earned after that feat. He may be a child of Aphrodite, but credit where credit is due. At least he was a legacy of Athena, so it made it easier. Zeus in particular was in awe, having felt all the thousands upon thousands of winds descending on the monster and felt them shift just appropriately to stay within the dome it created. It must have felt like a poke between the eyes. The god commented, but still, thousands upon thousands of winds. Quite the number. Ibs on fighting him first. Ares said, his fiery eyes burning with bloodlust. Of course he would say that. Aphrodite said in a dry tone, did he not just see that move? Hermes and Apollo burst into laughter at his exclamation, making him scowl. What? You did see what he did to the Hydra, right? Apollo asked with a smirk as his laughter died down. Apollo raised his hand palm up and made an explosion gesture. Boom, gone. You want to fight a kid that can do that? Ha. I could take him. Ares crossed his massive arms. Sewer. The gods mocked as one, getting the war god to grit his teeth angrily. He finished it. This was all Athena could manage to say, her eyes narrowed as she watched Hephaestus replay the attack. She smirked at her scowling brother. Considering you lost to Percy Jackson when he was 12 and untrained. Burn. Fuck you cripple. Ares raged and glared at the laughing Percy Jackson. One day damn it, one day. I believe you wouldn't last a second against Naruto Uzumaki. No, I wouldn't. Did you not see what he just did to that Hydra? Jackson, Ares seethed to the point you could see the veins in his neck. Screw you, owl pellets, said Ares with a scowl. Aphrodite just smirked quietly, watching as the god and goddess of war bickered over who would win. Naruto would beat Ares hands down, according to Olympian law Ares would have to fight fair. Aight. The hell. Facts are facts Ares, sorry. Had Ares been allowed to use all of his god powers, then perhaps he'd win, but against a hero, he was limited. Ares' arrogance would be his downfall. Like with Percy. Ares glared at the sun god, all of you, to the pits. Aphrodite. Zeus's voice made all of the gods stop talking and look at their king as he addressed the demigod's mother. Your son used my domain. Someone's pissy. Poseidon said mirthfully. Zeus grunted. Yes, because the boy was not of his line now he would most likely be pissy. My son created those winds, said Aphrodite, smirking at Zeus's scowl. He didn't manipulate your domain, he made his own. Which is a very interesting skill. Athena noted. That is impossible. Demeter said, frowning. Not so, said Athena. The people from the moving continent have done similar for centuries. It is expected of a child born there to be able to create their own element from their life force. They create the element within and expel it outwards with their techniques. The fact remains that he used my domain outside of the moving continent, said Zeus, giving Aphrodite a pointed glare. Big baby. Hades mocked, getting a pointed look from said baby. He is the grandson of Uranos, said Aphrodite with a pretty smile, making Zeus's scowl deepen. True, you cannot blame him for that fact. He is related to the original Sky Lord after all. The love goddess said with twinkling eyes of mirth. Zeus seethed at the reminder. I will let this altercation slide, said Zeus. He held a finger up. But know this, if he so much as tries to manipulate the sky, I will end him. Now, Zeus, said Poseidon, gaining his brother's attention. Considering the latest developments, I think it would be in your best interest to let the boy be. After all, the people from the drifting continent live on my domain as much as under yours. You've known they can do this, you're just jealous the boy did it in a way you can't comprehend. I can comprehend it. I am no. And, said Poseidon, cutting his brother off. That he isn't your offspring. Had this been Thalia Grace, for example, you would have shrugged it off. My other speaks the truth, Zeus. Poseidon informed, getting Zeus to frown, pout. I would still love to figure out how to do that. Thalia said in a giddy tone. Jason nodded in agreement to that. Zeus scowled at Poseidon for bringing that up. Great, now he looked biased. And as the god of justice, he wasn't allowed to be biased. Well, damn it, that's just not fair. Aw, poor Zeus. Hera rolled her eyes, getting a betrayed look from her husband. Fine, I won't kill him, said Zeus with a scowl. Happy. It's improvement, said Poseidon with a chuckle. Can I kill him? Ares asked hopefully. Like you could. Hermes snickered. I so bet I could. I wouldn't allow it. Aphrodite simply told him. Absolutely not. Aphrodite said before the king could retort. She glared at her boyfriend with heat in her now oddly purple eyes. Touch my son Ares, and there will be hell to pay. Oh. Ares whined, he hated when his girlfriend was like this. Well, that's no fun, said Ares with a scowl. His scowl fell at Athena's added glare. His sister then shifted her gaze to the demigod's mother. You should have left him on the continent, said Athena with a frown. Aphrodite returned it with her own frown. Oh come now, Athena, let the boy be with his family. Athena glared at the goddess, yet you ruined his early chances to become the head of his home's military. He could have been hailed as the youngest to enter office. Details. Considering that the camp has only fought against monsters and rogue campers, I figured it would be best if we had someone who could help them deal with what was coming, said Aphrodite. Apollo blinked, recognizing what she meant by that. Of course, his twin beat him to the punch. Why would one of your children know how to deal with that? Artemis asked with a frown. How rude. Well, it's usually true. The huntress mumbled with crossed arms. Aphrodite had very few exceptional children who make a difference in wars and battles. Well, he has a monster inside of him, said Aphrodite, glancing at the king. A beast he can control and use to his advantage. She glared at Athena. One that I had under control, except your son decided in all of his brilliance to deal with in his own way. Ooh. The god said as Athena glared at Aphrodite, who was nodding to her other. Leonardo was doing what he felt was right, said Athena with a scowl. Of course you would defend your child's actions. Poseidon rolled his eyes, if wrong in the eyes of others it is brilliant to you. At least mine can think. The goddess sniffed and Percy pouted at the jab. Leonardo. Who's Leonardo? Hermes asked. Leonardo was a child of mine, who lost his father shortly after his birth, said Athena with a frown. He was raised on the drifting continent and eventually became the leader of one of the small military villages. Small? Hazel muttered, that place was a city. I know, it was like New Rome. Frank nodded. Really? Boring job that had to have been, said Ares with a snort. You say that, but you don't know Minato like I did, said Aphrodite, interjecting and making Athena scowl once more. Yeah, we figured you know him real well. Artemis rolled her eyes as Aphrodite beamed at being with such a handsome man. She looked at the screen and waved her hand, making two images pull up. A picture of Naruto as he was today and a similar-looking blonde with a narrower face and piercing blue analytical eyes. Strange, he doesn't have our gray eyes. Annabeth muttered. It's more a grayish blue. Athena told her daughter and yes, if you looked closer, it was a grayish blue. Leonardo Namicus, the fourth fire shadow, a title used for the village hidden in the leaves for their dictator, was the kindest, smartest and strongest for 10 years after his promotion to Jonin, or expert shinobi. I would have loved to meet him. Annabeth smiled, she had an awesome big brother again it seems. You're saying that Pansy was a ninja? Ares asked, once more getting a glare from Athena for the comment. Oh, calling Athena's kid a pansy. Bad move Ares. Oh go stuff your cell up your ass, Hermes. Minato wasn't a pansy, said Athena, having taken notes of her son's life and given it to her daughter after the second Titanomichi to keep them in the loop and to reward her cabin for such great performances and loyalty during it. How is that a reward? Percy asked aloud, it sounded boring. Annabeth rolled her stormy eyes, "Duh, seaweed brain, I would love to read about someone that great. Just imagine what you could learn from his life. His strategies, his policies as a leader, a war hero, his actions that helped shape his current government. It's fascinating." "I'll take your word for it." Percy smiled at her enthusiastic answer. Minato, during the continent's third war, had eviscerated a squad of over 100 enemies in less than 5 seconds. Athena was positively glowing at the reminder of her amazing son. "Beat my record by 1 second," said a pouting Aphrodite and getting odd looks from her. She blinked and her eyes shifted back from purple. "Sorry, still assimilating." Kushina Uzumaki back in. "Be what?" the god said in shock, getting the demigods to jump at the reaction. "Assimilating, you split yourself to walk amongst mortals," Athena said with a look of rage. "That was forbidden even before the Silver Age began." "Whoa," Piper whistled, "go mom." "I try." "But you shouldn't," Athena scolded. "It was forbidden for minor gods and other deities," said Aphrodite with a scowl. "Not for Olympians. I'm surprised none of you have ever tried it. It's quite refreshing." "She has a point," Hera said and had a smirk on her face that also meant you married this Minato like Apollo had married Kushina. Again, a proper siring of a demigod. The boy really is something special. Zeus tried his hardest not to roll his eyes. "Aside from that new idea," said Hermes, snapping the Olympians from the thought of walking amongst mortals. "How did Minato move so fast?" "Yeah, since I didn't make it this time." Apollo pouted, "Still an awesome move." "He was inspired by a legacy of Zeus," said Athena, waving her hand and bringing up the image of the legacy, a white-haired man with red markings and a serious look on his face. "Hey, that's the second Hokage guy, right?" Thalia asked. "Yep," Piper nodded. "Aburama Senju. A master of what they call Fuinjutsu, he developed a space-time technique that allowed him to teleport. Minato made a jutsu based off of that, the Horatian no jutsu." "Suck up." Ares gagged. "Named it after Grandpa, did he?" Apollo asked in amusement. He looked at Zeus. "Flying thunder god." "Smart boy," said Zeus with a small smirk. "Indeed." Zeus nodded. "Wait, wouldn't that make Naruto your great-grandkid?" Hermes asked as a smile came to the king's face. He was even more proud now. "Ha. Take that, Hades." "It allowed him to teleport," said Athena, glaring at the archery god for interrupting her. "Granted, he needed to use a special kunai to do so, unlike his predecessor." Piper read a side note, it also says he was a master at using water techniques. "What?" Poseidon said, eyes narrowed. "And created a reanimation of the dead technique." "What?" Hades glowered. Zeus looked smug, "Not so funny when it happens to you now, is it?" His brothers just glared at him. "Ah, so your brat wasn't as good as you say," said Ares. "Battalion, 5 seconds, dead." Athena mocked, "What do you not comprehend?" "Fuck off, that's what." "Better than you at times," said Aphrodite, making the god gape while the room laughed at him. "Burn." Apollo and Hermes laughed loudly as Piper looked green in the face, not needing to read that out loud. Ares' teeth were grinding together at that as he glared heatedly at his brothers. The purple color in her eyes faded and Aphrodite flushed. Wow." Apollo said, laughing at the look on his brother's face. "Well, now that we know about Minato, tell us about the kid." "Yes, let's go over again what we already know." Artemis rolled her eyes. The Lady of Doves just smiled widely, "Oh, you're just pissy that he isn't your nephew now. Be silent." And so Aphrodite did, ecstatic to get onto a different subject. She told them of his growth from a troublemaking youth he was so cute growing up, wearing his bright orange jumpsuit, to a hero of the people. At age 13 he had liberated several villages and countries from tyrants alongside his team. "Well, he is a hero." Percy admitted, at least he didn't know Annabeth this time, so the son of the sea was far cooler with this version of Naruto. Hopefully he was less of an ass too. At 14, he lost his virginity and was a little shy about doing so. "Dude was younger than us." Leo exclaimed in disbelief and a bit of jealousy. Aphrodite looked proud as could be though. Athena scolded Aphrodite for watching that, but she claimed she couldn't help it. Kushina's attached soul got a look at all of Naruto's dirty little secrets. Aphrodite. Like my other said, she couldn't help it. Aphrodite then continued, after scaring Ares into silence while threatening his jewels if he kept laughing about Naruto's loss of virginity, telling them that at 15, he was learning to manipulate nature to become stronger, mastering his summons after his and Minato's sensei died. Athena gave a frown at this, conflicted over the death of the man that helped train her star child of the previous generation. "Of course I would be," the war goddess said as she turned her gaze to Annabeth. He and the star child of this generation could have learned much from one another. Her daughter beamed at that, she too would have adored to meet her older brother. Hermes, however. Wait, back up, said Hermes, holding his hand up with eyes narrowed. He took in nature. Yeah, I would be shocked at that. The traveler god nodded. Became part of it, said Aphrodite. She looked to her husband and gestured to the television. Can you move it back to the fight with the Hydra? Hephaestus rolled his eyes and rewound the images until it came to the fight in question. At the end, just before the Rasen Shuriken. There. She pointed at the screen. Can you zoom in on his face? Yes, show that handsome face. Aight, we get it. He's your kid. Apollo pouted with crossed arms. Now, no need to be jealous, Apollo. You had your time, now it is my turn to have the handsome strong son. And mine as well, Aphrodite. Athena added, but the love goddess just shrugged and said whatever. Child's play, said Hephaestus. He waved his hand and blinked at what he saw. A glitch. Sage mode, said Aphrodite. Her eyes were purple as she looked at her husband. Thank you, Hephaestus. Wait, what? The smith said with a shocked blink. The other gods paused as well. Seems this assimilation with Kushina has improved her manners. Hera commented offhandedly. The love goddess huffed. Her manners were perfectly fine, thank you very much. The gods looked at her oddly and Hephaestus was stuck in a state of shock. Aphrodite didn't notice, pointing at her son's eyes. His eyes become like a toad's, a side effect of learning through them how to manipulate nature. You'd think it would be more goat-like due to Pan. Percy mused. Boatman. Leo nodded and thought, I could see that as a thing. Apollo rubbed his chin, maybe. It enhances his strength and speed, making him as strong as Heracles. And yet he is far better. Hera added. Hopefully not as pig-headed, said Hera with a huff. Well, he isn't, so good for us. The Queen of Heaven nodded to her other as Zeus just shook his head. Not even, said Aphrodite with a titter. It also makes him extremely empathic. Really? Artemis asked, intrigued. Empathy was a rare trait, even among Aphrodite's children. Indeed. The Lady of Love nodded, so rare and both a blessing and curse at times. He's particularly connected to negative emotions, said Aphrodite with a sigh. My poor baby, such a happy boy, shouldn't have to worry about these things. Would he like a bottle of warm milk with that? Ares mocked but grunted under the glare sent his way. Aphrodite, focus, please. Asked Demeter. Well, aside from the mastery of sage mode and the war, he was the primary reason the fourth war in the moving continent was won, said Aphrodite. Athena smirked when Aphrodite looked at her. He seems to take after his father in that aspect. As he should. The weaver smirked. Of course. The gods mumbled, seriously, just because her kids were some of the best generals in history. War heroes runs in the family, said Apollo, stroking his chin. Great story, anything else? The beast, for instance, said Zeus, insistently. Aphrodite sighed as all eyes went to her, this could take a while. Yes, talking about a powerful demon in his gut could take a bit of chatting. Hermes nodded. Not your kid's best move, Athena. Apollo said, he knew that it was terrible for his other to do to his version of Naruto. And yet it needed to be done. The goddess said, her voice never wavering. While the Lady of Doves divulged her son's darkest secrets and Naruto recuperated with Billy, a strong entity stirred within the crusts of the planet. Aya. Percy and Jason said as one, their hands clenched. A small tremor went through Times Square. But why would she be stirring there? Hazel asked aloud. Who knows, Leo frowned. It was as though something was searching for the source of power that was recently shown. Uh-oh. Annabeth muttered, seems Naruto just got the wrong someone's attention. Big time. Frank nodded. Partially out of concern and partially out of curiosity. Oh, that's never good. Piper frowned for her brother in concern. Aya was interested in whatever happened in Times Square, very interested. Bitch, you lay off my baby. Aphrodite glared at the screen. Well, seems things just got more interesting for the story. Jason said as Piper nodded along with him. She also wondered what kind of difference Naruto was going to make for Cabin 10 and the camp in general. Chapter 2. Camp Half-Blood. I'll read next. Annabeth said eager. Piper handed the book to her, by all means. Annabeth took it and opened it up to chapter 2. As the sun rose on the two new friends, they came through a small forest near where Billy said the camp was. Billy also explained why he looked so different, what with the goat legs and all, that he was a nature spirit called a satyr and aged twice as slowly, earning Naruto's sympathy that the poor guy had to redo most of his educational career. Percy nodded with sympathy, I know, the horror. Naruto was relieved to hear they were so close because he wanted to ask more questions about the state of the world outside of his own. Primarily about the lack of nature chakra. Naruto had nearly collapsed after he released Sage Mode, stumbling more than once into Billy as they ran away from the mass confusion he caused in Times Square. The nature here was weak, something big was missing from it, and as a sage, Naruto was not happy with it. We rarely have sages anymore. Apollo nodded, it was such a lost career. All the growth of humanity away from his home was amazing, it had killed a lot of nature. When he brought this up with his friend, he was surprised by the look of surprise that came across Billy's face. How could you tell? Billy asked. Was he a son of Demeter? That could explain the feeling of nature that surrounded the blonde. Very true. Demeter nodded, but Aphrodite snorted. Ah, you wish. The Lady of Doves glowed and Demeter frowned, she indeed did. When I sent those two clones to gather nature chakra, I felt as though something was missing, said Naruto. After seeing all those impressive buildings, it's kind of obvious what had to go to make all this work. I mean, the last trees I saw that were thriving were in Central Park. A sad and cruel truth. Artemis said in a defeated tone, how much longer will nature thrive with how mortals tear things down? She didn't know, but she hated it so much. Central Park, said Billy, a bit wide-eyed. You really care about this, don't you? Most demigods nowadays don't. Demeter sniffed, only mine and maybe Dionysus. Yes. Naruto said, a bit confused at Billy's response. I'm a sage, why wouldn't I? A sage? Billy's heart nearly stopped. Sure, he's met demigods that were vegetarian, but they usually turned out to be not all that interested in environmentalism or were far too interested in the case of an extremist that came from Demeter's cabin. Demeter stiffened at that as Hades laughed aloud, oh yes, you hate when that is brought up. Be silent you bag of bones. And Hades complied, but that didn't take away the smile on his face that made the goddess of wheat simmer. But as sage Billy heard stories about sages, the career dying out long ago as Apollo's domain became more science-oriented. I'm sorry for the advancements of the mortals. Apollo sighed out, times change, it's happened to all the gods. Hardly any of Hermes' kids nowadays picked herbs anymore, and most of Apollo's kids preferred focusing on their archery, well, except for the cabin counselor whose mother was a doctor. Good on Will. The god of medicine beamed. Heck, the only modern sages today were the hunters of Artemis, and even that was stretching it. Well, they know enough and far more than most. Artemis pouted. Percy turned to Thalia, you know any sage stuff? The lieutenant shook her head, just little things Phoebe taught me, still got a long way to go. Billy wanted to believe Naruto at face value, but he had to be sure. So. Prove it. What? Naruto said, looking at Billy as the satyr stopped cold. Prove that you're a sage, said Billy, crossing his arms. Ooh, goat boy calling out Blondie. Leo whistled. Okay, said Naruto with a shrug. He promptly sat down, crossing his legs and interlacing his hands together. He took a deep breath and cleared his mind, his eyes closing as he did. His breathing slowed and became deathly quiet, making Billy worry for a moment that he had put himself in a death-like trance. No, but pretty close. Nico whistled, that's out of pure training to do that. I can't do it without help. The son of the dead admitted, getting an impressed look from Hades at the praise his son was giving. Persephone was another possible mother, rare though her demi-children were, so this would be a very upsetting situation. Hades pursed his lips at that, while Hera shook her head, just like her father in rare occasions. Then, Billy felt it. Nature was being drawn to the blonde, even Billy wanted to take a step closer to lend him a hand when he needed to. Satyrs assemble. Hermes announced like Captain America. Morning jays fluttered around him and birds settled on his shoulders, chirping and nesting around him in harmony. A small orange fox and several rabbits came out from their burrows, approaching the human curiously. Hum animals, time to save the day. Thalia joked with a cracked smile, that was pretty cool. There was a shriek and an eagle swooped in, flapping its wings as it came to roost where the startled morning jays fled on Naruto's shoulder. Seems great-granddad says hello. Apollo snickered as Zeus looked mildly amused. Physically, nothing about the blonde changed except for his eyelids, now orange with red mixed in above them. Naruto took another breath and slowly opened his eyes, looking at Billy with the eyes of a sage trained by the toads of Myaboku. Golden in color with toad-like pupils, Naruto's eyes were entrancing to the satyr. You are getting very sleepy, now give me your peanut butter. Hazel said while waving her hand in circles. So what do you think? Naruto asked in amusement as the animals of the forest gathered around him and settled next to or on him peacefully. Hermes whistled at that, amazing, I mean, we say Apollo's kid do something like that, but this is the true version of it. I wish Pan could have met him. He said in a saddened tone. No doubt his boy would have adored this half-blood. Billy shook his head, the trance he was in now broken after Naruto spoke. Wow, you really are a sage. I thought you had to be an old man to be one. Yeah, I thought so too. Percy said, but Apollo waved him off. Big misconception. Nah, just have to learn how to take the nature chakra in and give it back at the same time, said Naruto, shrugging nonchalantly while not disturbing the creatures settled around him. He stroked the head of the fox laying on his lap and reached up to lightly brush the eagle under the beak. Friendly, aren't they? The eagle gave a small cry at the touch and nipped his finger, making Naruto chuckle. Okay, no touching, I get it. Stingy bird. Poseidon joked, getting Zeus to send a side glare at the slight to his sacred animal. He let his connection with nature fade away and the animals slowly scattered, save for one. The eagle, which cried so proudly on its arrival, stayed put where it was on Naruto's shoulder, making Naruto and Billy blink in surprise at the sight of it. Naruto stood, the eagle staying put stubbornly. Like it's God that it represents. Poseidon. Well, this is interesting, said Naruto in amusement, trying to jostle the eagle by adjusting his shoulders, only making it dig its talons into him. Ow. Billy, help me get it off. Easy, Naruto, this is a sacred animal to one of the gods, I can't just manhandle it, said Billy, getting a squawk from the bird of prey. Zeus huffed, he better not. Okay, my bad. I didn't know you were a girl. She's stubborn, said Naruto with a grunt, reaching for her talons and getting his fingers pecked at. Okay. Geez, testy, aren't you? She doesn't want to leave, said Billy, looking at the eagle and bawling at it. He got a shriek in return and looked at Naruto in amusement. She likes you. So a gift from great-granddad. Hermes joked, must have liked that move. Zeus nodded, it was impressive and deserved a reward. What? She likes you. She can't explain it and quite frankly once an eagle has their mind set on something. Let me guess, they stick to it. Pretty much. Think you can have her relax, then? I won't shake her off as long as she doesn't sever my shoulder. Billy translated the request and the eagle complied, her talons sliding out of their grip on Naruto's shoulder, making the shinobi sigh in relief. He hesitantly reached up, holding his hand out to the eagle. A wide smile spread across his face as the eagle nuzzled itself into his hand. Aw, how's a good bird? Thalia said with a snicker. Poor Naruto. There, that's not so bad. Ow. Naruto pulled his hand back as the eagle nipped his finger again. I'm not food. He glared at Billy who was snickering, while the eagle released another loud cry. And just what is so funny? Yes, enlighten us, Billy. Frank asked eagerly. She's insulted that you haven't given her a name yet and try to touch her, said the amused satyr. Eagles are a proud bird, Naruto. Poseidon just looked at Zeus in amusement. The king huffed, already knowing what Poseidon was pointing to and refused to play his game. She doesn't have a name? Naruto asked, arching a brow. She does, it's just not translatable to human tongue, said Billy with a shrug. The eagle shrieked loudly, her wings spreading in pride as she did, making Billy roll his eyes. Okay, well according to her, the closest translation would be the chick born in harmony of the nest, made with the king's feather. That is seriously long-winded. Leo shook his head, she looks more like a Cindy. Yeesh, and I thought your name was weird, said Naruto, looking at the eagle and ignoring the deadpan stare he got from the satyr. Alright, your name is Mew 1/2 which stands for beautiful feather. How does that sound? Perfect for a beautiful creature. Hestia nodded, it was a wonderful one her youngest brother nodded to as well. After Billy translated for him, the newly named Mew cried out, taking to the sky and looping before coming back to the demigod's shoulder. She nuzzled her head against the blonde's and allowed him to pet her, much to his and Billy's amusement. Aw, she likes it. A boy and his bird. Thalia snickered as Jason rubbed his chin. Maybe he should get an eagle. I'll take that as a yes, said a snickering Naruto. He dropped his hand and looked back at the satyr. So, Billy, now what? We could go over the Olympians I suppose, said Billy, scratching his fuzzy chin while Naruto and Mew looked at him curiously. There's the big three. Zeus, Poseidon and Hades. Zeus is the king of Olympus and the god of the sky and all in its domain, which could be why Mew is so attached to you, he could be your father. It would be possible with the oath revoked. No, he isn't. Said all the gods minus Zeus, who frowned actually. He wouldn't mind a son as powerful as Naruto. He was certainly noble and heroic enough along with using wind, one could easily make that mistake him as a son of the sky. My father is not a god, said Naruto with a frown. My mom said he was still dead. Okay, so that rules out a good portion of Olympians, said Billy, frowning in confusion at that. Was it just Naruto's connection with nature that brought Mew to him or was it something else? A little of both, it seems. Artemis attested. The two continued to discuss the Olympians as they made their way to Camp Half-Blood, a name that slightly put Naruto off. Oh yeah, Annabeth nodded, he was treated less than human when growing up. That got winces all around. Billy started out by naming the primary 12 and their domains. Naruto felt that Hestia got gypped when it came to Dionysus's seat being offered, but he admired her for the sacrifice she made. Mr. D huffed at that, but conceded to the boy's point, while Hestia beamed. He was a bit conflicted on hearing that the new 12th Olympian was his new camp counselor, but shrugged it off as he continued to listen to Billy. To Naruto, the gods weren't as interesting as the goddesses, since there were not as many stories about them, unless it concerned punishment that Naruto felt was a bit much. I.e. Artemis and the idiot that peeped on her. He deserved it. Oh, it was an accident. Aphrodite rolled her eyes. Says you. The huntress glared. He'd have to write home about that one to Tsunade. She would probably claim Artemis as her new patron or matron or whatever it was, then drink to Hirosenen's memory. If only she was younger, Artemis pursed her lips, a super strong medically smart hunter. Who wouldn't want that? And Athena and the spider thing. Annabeth shivered. To think of it, didn't his resurrected dad kind of hesitate against the Juubi in its incomplete form, which looked like a spider? I would assume so. Poseidon said with mirth as Athena glared at him for mocking her amazing son. Naruto shook those thoughts off as Billy started to talk about Hera, Zeus's wife and sister, something that hardly made Naruto blink, considering his homeland was full of incest, and he was sure that there was an Uzumaki who shacked up with his sister, but more importantly, also the queen of Olympus. They finished with Hera and Amphitrite, the wife of Poseidon, coming to a close on Hades' wife niece Persephone, as they came across a sign that said Delphi Strawberry Fields, no trespassing. Unless you're a demigod. Percy said with a smirk. Then trespass all you want. Hermes cheered with a good laugh. Ah, trespassing, good times. She could totally be your mother, said Billy. He pointed up at Mew, who was flying high above them to stretch her wings. It could explain why Mew likes you. Not really, she's been down there for a while. Hades stated sternly, getting a glare from his sister that made the dead god roll his black eyes. You said Persephone took mostly from her mother and abilities and is the wife of Hades. I'd say after she ate one of those fruits, she probably lost a lot of contact with the sky, said Naruto. He looked behind him in amusement. And I don't see any black flowers popping up behind me while I walk. See, the boy agrees. The rich one nodded, a good head on his shoulders. Amazing where he came from, Artemis joked, and Aphrodite, along with Athena, glared at her. He comes from me as well, sister. Apologies, Athena. Artemis said sincerely and Aphrodite coughed. Well? You might want to get the tickle in your throat checked on. The maiden goddess smirked, getting the love goddess to huff and cross her arms. I told you that was one case. Billy said with a frown. He sighed. Well, that leaves Aphrodite, goddess of love, lust, beauty and pleasure. Her kids know how to speak French like oui, which means yes, or their favorite pot res impressionant, not very impressive. Yeah, talking about mommy. The love goddess cheered happily. Really? Naruto blinked in confusion. Why do they like to say that? Aphrodite's daughters are expected to break boys' hearts to win her favor, said Billy, shaking his head. True. Mom. I'm just being honest, sweetie. A lot of guys at camp try to get their attention. I pity the bastard that actually falls in love with one. Hey. Jason frowned as Piper had narrowed eyes, they weren't all that bad. All previous attempts have been disastrous, well, except for one guy. He got lucky, though. Yeah, he died. Hephaestus said gruffly and Percy winced at the reminded, he missed Beck. And her sons? Naruto asked, intrigued. Who knows, maybe she doesn't favor them because she compares them all to the Trojan Aeneas. No, I don't. The Lady of Doves pouted. Though the Romans were letting out whistles and cheers for the founder of Rome, but to Athena's annoyance. If they have some special right, the camp doesn't know about it, said Billy with a shrug. Oh, what does she usually look like? Naruto asked, knowing that while the goddesses could change their appearance, they had certain forms they liked to take. Anything, the goddess giggled. She appears as the one you love the most times 10, said Billy. He shuddered and rubbed his arms. If I ever met her I'd feel so bad for doing that to Bibi. The love goddess cooed, how sweet. Bibi? Naruto asked in amusement. My girlfriend. She's a dryad, a land nymph. She lives inside a willow. So you're dating a tree? Oh, Blondie just schooled Goat Boy. Leo laughed out. No. The spirit in the tree. I'm not judging you. But it's not like that. Hey, you don't have to lie to me, Billy. You suck, Naruto. The chamber was filled with laughter as Hermes wiped a stray tear. Oh man, that kid is good. I've been told that a lot, said the snickering blonde while his sadder friend glowered at him. He looked up at his happily soaring eagle and called to her. Mew, come down, I think we're almost there. What makes you? Oh, Billy's words died on his lips as Naruto pointed at the tree at the top of the hill. Alia gave a sad smile upon seeing her tree. You remembered that, did you? I'm not an idiot, I'm just a slow learner, said Naruto, pouting at the unintentional insult. Athena squawked at that while Annabeth gasped. Poseidon let out a chuckle. Amazing for a legacy of yours to say that. Be silent, squid god. I never, but you, Billy groaned when he saw Naruto crack a smile as Mew landed on Naruto's shoulder. I hate you, Naruto. Oh, don't say that, otherwise I'll have to try to get on your good side, said Naruto with a chuckle while he gave Miu's beak a small gentle stroke with the side of his finger. She crooned at the attention he gave her while they walked up the hill. Naruto grinned at his new friend. Say, didn't you say something about me being the first demigod you retrieved? Wow, lucky him. Annabeth nodded, that was impressive for a satyr's first run. To be fair, Naruto is super tough. Percy added, getting a nod from his girlfriend. Yeah, hey, yeah. Billy perked up. Holy crap, you're the first demigod I've ever brought back to camp. I live to serve, said Naruto with a smile. Thanks, Billy. Anytime, Naruto, said Billy, grinning back at his new friend. Reminds me of another demigod powerhouse and a satyr. Naiko smirked to Percy, getting the son of the sea to smile at that. Yeah, hopefully they saw more of Billy, he was cool for a new guy. They continued their slow peaceful march up what was called Half-Blood Hill once again. Naruto frowned slightly at the name, and near the pine tree, Naruto saw a dragon, something he thought was only in legends. After Naruto pointed it out, Billy waved him off and they kept walking. Don't mind him. That's Peleus, the guardian of the Golden Fleece. As long as you don't try to touch it, he won't bother you. Oh, claimed so fast. Artemis asked her fellow goddess. Aphrodite smirked, but of course. He's earned it. Very true. Athena nodded as Artemis nodded as well. He defeated the Hydra in a single blow. Now even Heracles could boast that. Billy had stopped, staring at Naruto as soon as he stepped past the invisible boundary, making the blonde arch his brow. Then his vision was engulfed in a red haze, making Naruto go wide-eyed. Mako ver. Hopefully better than mine. Piper muttered, but her mother had her and pouted at that. Hey Kurama, is that you? He thought just a bit hopefully. There was no response, making Naruto's hope sink until he felt something change. Aw, he misses his fox buddy. Naiko pouted, that guy was funny. He looked at his arms, which looked a bit larger than before. He also noticed that his bare arms were now covered and he was dressed for a different weather. Looking down past his now sleeved arms, he saw that his sandals were still in place and his strange pants had become darker in color. Weird. Dark jeans, nice. Thalia grinned. You like Thalia? BSH, shuddered Annie. I'm a hunter here, plus I don't even know him. Maybe he'll smitten you again, Aphrodite grinned as Artemis glowered at her. Stop your nonsense. Make me. The goddess stuck out her tongue at her rival. Lifting eyes back to his arms, Naruto was happy to find orange on his arm, an orange jacket. He quickly slid the garment off and grinned at what he found. Back in black and orange, kicking ass and taking names was a jacket that was similar to the upper part of his jumpsuit when he was a kid. He does pull off orange. Aphrodite begrudgingly said, not using the color that much herself. Well, aside from the collar being furred instead of just white. Well, it is winter. Thalia commented and had to admit that the jacket sounded cool. Heck, there was the same Uzumaki carving on the left shoulder. Turning it around, Naruto was ecstatic to find his clan seal smack dab in the middle of his back. Family connection and all. Piper smirked, it did sound cool to be from a family of ninjas. He looked at his arms, surprised to find his white t-shirt replaced with a blue long-sleeved shirt. He does look simple amazing. Aphrodite nodded, her boy was so handsome. Miu chirped to him and flew from his shoulder, her talon catching something and nearly choking Naruto as she did. Quickly freeing the eagle's talon from the cord that was attached to it, Naruto followed the cord that was around his neck to a small green gem that made Naruto's eyes widen in shock. He thought the first necklace was lost when he flipped out on the Gato. Well, if it was jewelry, that's an easy fix. The beauty goddess brushed off as the smith and wealth gods rolled their eyes about the fixing and gems of their range of domain. Naruto, your face. Billy said in alarm, not realizing that Miu's cries or the light Naruto gave off when he was claimed had attracted the attentions of others. What happened to my face? Naruto asked, dropping his necklace to put his hands on his face. Feeling nothing wrong, Naruto looked at his hands for any signs of dirt, blinking in confusion when his skin felt smoother than ever before. No problem. His eyes widened in horror. What happened to the calluses on my hands? Oh dight, you didn't. Ares bemoaned. What? To a warrior, their calluses show their hard work and training, that's very important to them. Ares said, actually sounding smart for once. Well, it comes with the claiming, he'll just get them back. The goddess waved off. That was a sign of his hard work paying off, damn it. See. The war god pointed out and the love goddess pouted, whatever. Mr. Overtree, what are you, oh my, said a man attached to the body of a horse. Naruto could care less about the horseman, his calluses were gone. The shit was that. No, just ignore the horseman on hill. Apollo joked with a snicker. Horseman, ha. Naruto, could you obsess less about your calluses and come say hello to your new activities director? Billy asked, worried this would look bad if Grover nope, too late. He's here too. Geez, since when did Grover get so big? Percy wondered with a joking smile. Who knows? Annabeth laughed along with Thalia, man, their goat boy had gotten so far from the once scrawny kid he was. Well, there's something you don't see every day, said the amused head goat. Grover Underwood was chuckling in amusement while the new son of Aphrodite stared in horror at his hands. He's so chill now. Nico laughed, man, where did twitchy Grover go? Grover, I can explain everything. He's not always like this, I swear. Naruto, damn it, you're making me look bad. Dude needs to relax. Leo rolled his eyes, having met Grover a few times, the head goat isn't like that. You look bad. I'll be a laughingstock of Konoha if I go back like this. Smooth hands. Civilians have smooth hands, shinobi have hands caked in sweat, and grime. Naruto seemed to finally notice he was no longer alone. Amazing for your child to be all for that. Hush, Artemis. He could still kick all your little hunters around like ragdolls. Aphrodite gloated, getting the young-looking goddess to pout at the truth of that fact. He raised one hand awkwardly to the group of demigods, satyrs and the one-horse man. Ahai. Two bright lights appeared above him and Naruto turned his head in an effort to see them. Oi. What's the big idea, shining lights on me? Billy, what's going on? Why your mother's you've been claimed, said Billy, confused by the two lights above his head. Zeus turned to his daughter and the love goddess, something you two would like to tell us. He joked, getting Poseidon to slap his knee in humor. Athena turned red in the face with indignity, while Aphrodite hummed at the prospect of it. One was large and pink, shaped like a dove, which explains the makeover. The other, however, was gray like an owl and much smaller next to the dove. Been a while since this has happened, said the horseman softly before turning to the campers. Camp, we have a new hero. All hail Naruto Uzumaki. Billy supplied dutifully. He caught Grover nodding at him, making him stand a bit straighter at the praise. Percy couldn't take it, man, Grover really had come into his own since the war. He was so proud of him and the respect that his friend deserved. Ah, yes, thank you Billy. All hail Naruto Uzumaki, son of Aphrodite and legacy of Athena. All the campers got to their knees in front of him and Mew banked around a hedge before settling on his shoulder. Naruto reacted as his friends back home would expect him to. What? The goat didn't go over claiming. Jason mused with a quirked lip, it was funny to see after seeing the Apollo Naruto to this newbie Naruto, he still kicked ass though, that was for sure. The horseman told the confused blonde to follow him after the campers rose to their feet. A couple of pretty girls that were younger than him whispered together in a small group and he could feel something akin to hope come from them as they looked at him. I think I know why, Piper grinned, Naruto 17. Leo blinked, what's that got to do with anything? Ulysses. Weird, but when was the first time anything a girl did make sense? Like Hinata's decision to confess her feelings to him in the fight against Nagato. Touching, yeah, but really an inopportune moment to pick and it didn't lead to anything, not that he hadn't tried. He just didn't like Hinata like that. At least she was still willing to be his friend. I don't know who this Hinata is, Aphrodite stated, but she sounds like a disappointment. Boy, horse guy, how's it I have two moms? Naruto asked. You don't? Athena frowned. Oh, you'd like him to call you that. Aphrodite glared, no. He was her baby boy. Waving at another girl that walked by as she waved at him. Man, these campers were friendly. Oh. The dense playboy type. Aphrodite giggled while clapping her hands, she rarely had one like that. I mean, Billy said the Olympians did some weird stuff, but I would never. Now don't say that, Athena. Be silent you. My name is Chiron, not horse guy, Mr. Uzumaki, said Chiron with a frown as he looked at the boy. I still like pony. Percy admitted for Tyson's word for the trainer of heroes. And you don't have two mothers. You're a legacy, which is not unheard of, but very rare. Okay, yeah, but why did I get two lights? Your ancestor, Athena, deemed you worthy off the bat to be claimed alongside Aphrodite's claim, said Chiron. Of course I would. Athena nodded, he had done a spectacular job at saving his entire continent. He earned even more she personally believed. He looked at the farmhouse, which he told Naruto was called the Big House, stupid and obvious, how could anyone forget that name? Nervously. Things have been tense since the second Titanomichi. The war against the Titans, said Naruto recalling Billy telling him about it. That reminded Naruto, he wanted to meet this Percy kid. He seemed like an okay guy. Percy threw his hands in the air, and I like this Naruto, like, 100 times better already. He proclaimed. You just don't like Apollo Naruto since we're so close. Annabeth rolled her eyes at her bow. Shut it wise girl. The son of the sea with the red cheeks and a broody pout on his face. White. Now, I've been informed you would arrive shortly, the head counselor told me to keep an eye out for you, I don't think he knew that you'd be so easy to spot, said Chiron, amused while Naruto flushed slightly at being put under 2 spotlights earlier. Well, Mr. D said, after seeing his loud and obnoxious display from Olympus, it was hard not to. I didn't ask for that or for these clothes by the way, where did these come from, anyway? Naruto asked, a brow arched. Aphrodite deems it fit to show off her children during acclaiming, said Chiron in amusement. She perfects you. I'm surprised she didn't get rid of the marks on your cheeks. Oh, but they make him so cute. They're not removable, said Naruto to the centaur. I see. Your cabin is cabin 10, and how old are you, Mr. Uzumaki? 16. 17 last month, said Naruto with a grin. Boy was that a party. After he helped rebuild the Ichiraku stand, he was treated to a night out by the village funds, many higher-ups in the Shinobi Alliance, thanking him for his help. Got even wilder after Lee had some of the sake he wasn't supposed to have. Sounds fun, Dionysus admitted, but the pointed look from his father made him pout. Really? Oh dear, said Chiron, cupping his chin in thought. Drew won't like hearing that. Suck it. Hyper McLean. Sorry Lady Hestia. But you could hear she didn't mean it at all. Do? Naruto asked, tilting his head up and looking at Mew as she came in from her survey of the camp. Hey Mew, is it big enough for you? He got a small croon while he stroked her beak, making Chiron look at him. Interesting that eagle, Mew was her name, yes. It's just an eagle. Percy said. Zeus humph, just an eagle, say that to Dios. He mocked. Beautiful feather, said Naruto smirking as he caught the irony of the name now, while Mew gave a small cry at her name's meaning. Very interesting. Chiron said, sounding like he was thinking about something. The centaur looked forward as they approached a pink cabin. Your sons must love it. Thank you, Artemis, you know how much I love your input. And about my sons no less. Finally showing an interest. Ha. You wish. I do, I really do. He raised a hand and lightly knocked, the door opening to reveal a pretty girl of Asian descent, dressed like she just woke up for the day. Chiron sighed and rubbed his eyes. Ms. Tanaka, the morning horn was blown 40 minutes ago. Ah, sorry Chiron, I must have slept through it, the girl said sweetly. Brat. Artemis sniffed. Hyper groaned, oh you have no idea Lady Artemis. I pity you child. Thank you, I mean it. She noticed Naruto and smiled at him before frowning as she realized what his presence meant. Another one. Your new older brother, said Chiron, making the girl's eyes widen. Hyper snickered, oh Drew was going to get it now. Chiron turned to Naruto, who had his brows furrowed in confusion. Naruto, as the eldest of your cabin, you are now the cabin counselor. It's different for each cabin, but for Aphrodite, who has so many children like Apollo, she has the oldest take charge. True. The gods nodded to this, each had their own little reasons on who should lead the rest of their children. Why? Naruto asked, simply out of curiosity. Because that's just how mom does it, said the girl with a frown as she looked at her brother. I'm Drew Tanaka. And you are? Your new boss. Annabeth smirked, never liking Drew's attitude. Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto with a grin. Mew squawked and he chuckled before looking at her. And this is Mew. Hums with a pet, that's a new accessory, said Drew flatly. She obviously didn't sound pleased with Naruto's arrival, but was tolerating it because of something. Probably Chiron's presence, Naruto thought. He shrugged it off though, she'd warm up to him eventually. You might as well be warming up to a pit viper. Piper said in scorn. Indeed, said Chiron, once more sounding like he was thinking about something while he looked at Mew. Okay, what's up with the eagle? Jason asked in wonder as Zeus rubbed his chin in equal wonder. He turned and looked back at Naruto. I leave the cabin to you, Naruto. Drew should be able to help you get used to being counselor. Unless he doesn't want to be counselor, Drew said suggestively, looking at Naruto intently, almost glaring at him without actually glaring at him. She's actually trying to use it on her own brother. Demeter frowned. Drew tends to do that a lot. Annabeth informed the goddess. You've certainly received a winner, Aphrodite. Shut up you dear poop sniffer. Ms. Tanaka, please don't abuse your gifts, said Chiron with a sigh. The poor lad just got here. Yes, yes, said Drew, waving him off. She opened the door further, allowing Naruto to catch a glimpse of the very pink interior of the cabin. Come on then, Naruto. Let me introduce you to the others. Sweet, I've always wanted siblings, said Naruto with a smile. Aw, that's sweet of him. The mother smiled, he certainly deserves them. Please be ready by lunch at the latest, said Chiron, frowning at the girl. I'll do what I can to help my new brother get the rest of these lazy bums up, said Drew with a smile. They aren't lazy, you hypocrite. Piper frowned, honestly, Drew was just the worst example of her mom's kids. Chiron nodded and trotted off, leaving Naruto alone with his sister. Well, at least he had Mew. Ah! No birds allowed except for the sky rumbled, and Drew frowned. Well, if he's going to be like that, fine, the bird can come. Yes, I said, and she is an eagle, girl. Zeus frowned, bird, it was such a vague insult to a proud avian. Eagle, said Naruto, shaking his head as he stepped in. Thank you. He cringed at the blinding pink, it was way more than Sakura had on her head. Once the door was shut, the girls who were holding various trash bags or bins of clothes dropped them with a cheer, their hands raising above their head, while Drew scowled at them. Oh, they are without a doubt happy. The daughter of McLean smirked, she would be too if she had to live with Drew as long as they had. All of you need to shut up. She said, her command making them begrudgingly do so. She turned to her new brother with arms crossed over her chest. Welcome to Cabin 10, Naruto. Now be a dear and relinquish your status back to me. It is after all too much for someone as new as you. And now she is really trying. Aphrodite frowned, Naruto was far more worthy of leading the cabin, to be honest. Why would I do that? Naruto asked. The smirk that was spreading across Drew's face suddenly turned into a shocked gape while the other girls in the cabin gasped and the guys started to whisper. He has charm speak too. Piper exclaimed in surprise as even her mother was blinking in surprise. Well, no wonder he's so good at talking his enemies down. The goddess smirked, charm really did have the best qualities for a hero, that was for sure. Naruto, you will make me cabin counselor again, said Drew, glaring daggers at her older brother, despite the kind tone in her voice. Yu shrieked at the underlining hostility she had spoken with, and Naruto crossed his arms over his chest. Flaw out her eyes. Piper. You may not agree with one another, but that is too far. Honestly, crying for maiming your own sister. I'm pro for it all the time. Ares said, glaring at Athena, who readily glared back. Ares, not helping. The girlfriend said. But that kind of attitude, I can be sure I won't, said Naruto with a frown. Drew's face turned red with rage while their brothers and sisters smiled at the claim. Naruto, I am cabin counselor, said Drew sweetly, dropping her dagger-like glare. Yu shrieked again and Naruto smirked at his sister, flicking her in the forehead hard enough to make her stumble back onto a bed. Take that. Aphrodite gave up on stopping her daughter's cheering of Drew being put down. No, now you stay there until you decide to stop being a brat, said Naruto with a smirk while Drew's livid face glared at him. She started to rise and Naruto frowned. I said sit, Drew. Like a bit. Piper. I mean it. The charm speaker cowed from her mother's furious tone. Geez, she just got into it was all. Drew visibly struggled with herself before slowly sitting down. The McLean gaped, we can overpower other chamber speakers. She asked her mother. Well, if you're strong enough, yes. She nodded, getting a giddy look from Piper. Naruto smiled again and nodded. Good. Now when you decide to stop being a brat, you can help me get the hang of this counselor st. I'll help you. No, I will. The cabin members quickly started to volunteer. Anything to keep Drew away from power over them again. You go guys. Piper cheered, man, she couldn't wait to see what a better entrance to camp would be like with Naruto as a counselor. Naruto blinked in surprise and smiled at his other siblings. Awesome, I could use the help. Thanks girls and guys. He said with a pure smile. The cabin cheered again, and many would wonder why cabin 10 was so happy as they walked by for an activity. Naruto was swarmed by his new cabin members, all of them asking questions like how old he was and where he was from. He told them he was from far away and would give them more after he got settled in. I bet they would love all the stories he has. Annabeth smirked. I'm sure he's had a few romances to talk about. Piper snickered as her siblings would love that. They asked if he had any other supplies and he shook his head, making them nod in understanding. A younger girl, Lacey, who had blonde hair similar to his own, pulled into pigtails and some strange metal on her teeth, walked him around the cabin while the rest finished getting dressed. She explained that he was in charge of curfew, chores and a whole lot of other stuff that Naruto was sure he could do by himself with his clones. Sweet. Piper cheered, clone labor. He wouldn't though, considering his sisters looked like twigs compared to his friends back home, and his brothers looked a bit too fragile for his liking. Artemis snickered as Aphrodite flushed, her kids could still fight though, and look fabulous while doing so. Before heading out to lunch, Naruto told Drew to get in the shower and get ready for the day, making her scowl, but oblige, lest she be embarrassed like she was in front of her cabin members a moment before. I'd love to see that. Leo snickered, that Lola was not cool, hot as hell, but not cool. Naruto shook his head at her attitude and became determined to clean her from it. Shunting that concern aside for now, he continued to listen to Lacey as she rambled on and on about what Drew used to do when she was cabin dictator. And just before Chiron knocked on the door she was having me pull out clothes for her to choose from and then put in a pile, just so I'd have to wash them and put them away, said Lacey with a frown, looking far too cute for a 14-year-old. Wow, what a bitch. Thalia said it that, seriously, that was a bit much. Talk about abuse of power. Thank you Thalia. Piper smiled at the hunter for saying it for her. Naruto chuckled at her face before looking at his chattering siblings and then at the window where Mew was perched. Well, you won't have to worry about that from me, said Naruto, pulling Lacey into a small hug that she returned gratefully. Aw, the females cooed, so sweet. He let her go with a smile on his face and he grabbed his jacket. As long as I've got this and this, he then pulled at his necklace, I'll be good with whatever I wear. Like your sandals? Lacey asked in bemusement. Not many guys could pull them off after all, but Naruto did. Ninja sandals, The fairest of them all mused. Yep. Naruto said with a smile. He got up from the too soft for its own good bed and stretched. There was a soft rumble that made Lacey look at him with a look of amusement on her face. The older blonde could only laugh. Guess it's that time. He went to the shower and knocked on the door. Drew, lunchtime. Let's go, you heard the horse guy. Apollo and Hermes snickered with the demigod's horse guy, ha. Tyrant, said Lacey with a giggle while Drew groaned. What he doesn't know won't hurt him, said Naruto with a chuckle. He opened the door and his siblings filed out in twos, Lacey waiting for him and scooting behind him as Drew huffed and went to get dressed quickly before rushing out the door after the group that left before her. Naruto looked down at Lacey and smiled at her, boosting her confidence a bit more and letting her run out after the former dictator, while Naruto chuckled. As he left his cabin and shut the door, Mew took to the air from the windowsill, flying in the sky with a shriek. Lunch was an interesting affair, demigods giving some of their food to the hearth in tribute to the gods. Naruto bowed his head and gave it to his mother and ancestor, dropping a bit for Hades to ask that he go easy on his dad for any sins. Amazing. Hades hummed, liking the Aphrodite version of the boy as well. And then asking for Hestia to help him make good decisions to help his family like she did. The hearth seemed to get a bit warmer after his prayers. He really is a special one. The hearth goddess smiled brightly, so rare was it someone prayed for her. Naruto took a seat at the head of the table, Lacey on his left and his brother Mitchell on the right. Drew was at the far end of the left, a bit of space between her and their brother Eric. There were whispers from the other tables, but the first, second, third, 8th and 13th tables were empty for no reason in particular, well the second because as Billy said. Hera doesn't have affairs, that's her husband's job. Percy snickered, Grover said the exact same thing. Zeus huffed at that while Hera smirked, smart goat. And then Artemis's hunters were probably out hunting, the former member of Cabin 1 leading them. Aelia beamed at her mention. But it was strange, wasn't that Percy kid the son of Poseidon? Cabin 3. I'm at school. Percy answered. Nightmares for you dude, Leo whistled. Before Naruto could wonder more on this, Lacey asked him a question that he missed. Blinking, Naruto looked at his sister. What? I said how did you beat Drew's charm speak? Lacey asked him again, making the table hush while Drew scowled at Lacey. Simple, he has it and is better with it. Piper said, parroting her mom's answer. The look was broken as Mew flew in, shrieking before landing with a few flaps of her wings on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto lifted a small piece of meat, pig he thinks, for her to nibble on. While Mew gobbled it down, Mitchell found his voice. He probably has his own charm speak, Lacey, said Mitchell. The boy got a few curious looks and he said. What? We all know it takes one charm speaker to be immune to another and Naruto's a guy, so that makes it stronger. True, Piper nodded, it worked wonders on the opposite sex. By what speak? Naruto asked, both he and Mew giving Mitchell looks like he had grown a second head. Aphrodite giggled while clapping her hands, oh, he doesn't even know. How exciting. Charm speak, said Lacey. It's something Aphrodite. Mom, said Naruto pointedly. He thought it was stupid that demigods would have to call their godly parents anything other than what they were. Mom or dad. He does have a good point. Frank nodded, but usually the kid said it more out of respect. Mom, said Lacey with a small smile. Can do. It lets the user manipulate whoever they're speaking to and usually doesn't work on other charm speakers or members of the same sex, but you must have a lot of practice with yours on girls. Well, he has charmed a few in his time, Aphrodite said, recalling some of Naruto's adventures from Apollo's story, he's smitten many a girl. Okay well, I don't charm to her whatever, said Naruto with a shake of his head. I mean, if I did it against Nagato to make him stop his rampage for revenge, but you just said it doesn't work on members of the same sex, so I couldn't have done it on him. But you do. Aphrodite frowned, of course he did. Charm speak, said Drew with a scowl. Is a rare gift mom gives to her children. Sure, maybe there's some genjutsu you can use just by talking. And I have the Sharingan buried deep in my DNA, said Naruto with a snort while he took another piece of meat and ate it. Wow, he's so disbelieving about it, Piper blinked in surprise. Stubborn like his grandmother. Poseidon snickered as he was glared at. Naruto, you can charm speak, said Mitchell. You just heard Lacey say that it doesn't work on other charm speakers, and earlier Drew was using charm speak to get you to step down. Listen Mitchell, I don't have charm speak. I just say what I feel is right, Naruto said with a shrug, making Mew squawk at the jostle she got. He apologized by feeding the brown feathered eagle another piece of meat. No charm to it. Aphrodite rubbed her chin, actually, that might make it more powerful. He feels that he is just speaking his mind, thus he fully believes in his words, thus they are more powerful. Interesting. Plus with his natural charisma, yes, in charm speaking I would say he would be even better than you, Piper. The daughter of love whistled, she knew her charm speak was powerful, but Naruto's to be even stronger. Scary, yet very cool. The members of Cabin 10 just stared at him in disbelief. He had to have charm speak, there was no other explanation to Naruto being able to just shake off Drew's orders. Before any of them could continue Naruto looked up at the sound of footsteps approaching. A girl with blonde hair like honey and grey eyes that had a bit of red around them nervously approached them, looking up at the sky as she got closer. Percy frowned along with Annabeth, did you the girl trailed off. That kidnapped earlier. The son of the sea frowned, I think so. Annabeth gave a side glare to the Queen of Heaven, who in turn didn't look bothered by it at all. Naruto saw the girl mouth the word please, making him furrow his brow in confusion. When she stood right next to him, the girl swallowed before she spoke. Your name is Naruto, right? She asked, looking as professional as she could. Naruto nodded, but she pressed on. Naruto Uzumaki. And boy meets girl Aphrodite sung out as Percy blanched along with Annabeth. He's my nephew. When has that ever stopped any of us? The love goddess asked, referring to the gods. The daughter of wisdom groaned while Percy had a frown on his face. This Naruto didn't know Annabeth, he knew they would just be friends, he was sure of that with no doubt. Yeah, that's me, said Naruto with a grin. He scratched the underside of Mew's beak. This is Mew, and I'm sure you know my cabin by now. Hi Annabeth. Said most of the members of Cabin 10. Annabeth waved at them with a small smile before looking back at him. Naruto see can you tell me if you've met a boy named Percy Jackson? Annabeth asked, her breath hitching at saying his name. So I am missing. Percy frowned. Earlier. Annabeth noted, her voice died as Percy hugged, knowing she was upset. I've heard of him, but I haven't seen him yet, said Naruto, a bit miffed at not meeting the hero of Olympus yet. Seriously, the guy sounded really cool. Thank you, Percy chirped, glad to have at least one Naruto on his side. But now Naruto was starting to think he was one of those guys that thought they were too cool, like Sasuke. Percy then blanched, I am nothing like that duck betrayer. The boy cried out as Annabeth rubbed his arm. We know, seaweed brain, just Naruto hasn't met you yet. Still, the sea child pouted. He could accept Sasuke's like attitude, having grown up with it, but he really didn't like other guys who acted like him. Oh Annabeth said, her head falling and her feelings of depression washing over Naruto like a bucket of cold water. Naruto shuddered minutely from the feeling and looked at his sad siblings while Annabeth walked away. Being an empathy must suck at times. Hazel winced, all that negativity. Poor thing, said his sister Alexandra. Since Percy went missing, she's barely able to keep it together. Too proud to show weakness. Thalia stated in amusement, getting a mock glare from her friend. Percy is missing. Naruto asked, going over the conversation he and Billy had about the boy in his head. Naruto's eyes widened as he recalled the past tense Billy used. He looked back at Annabeth and saw her sit down at Cabin 6's table, she was a daughter of his ancestor. Family bonding time soon, I can feel it. Hestia smiled brightly, oh, Naruto would get the young daughter of wisdom buck up. Been missing for a few days, said Mitchell with a shake of his head. Just up and vanished one day after going to bed the day before. We searched the whole camp, but no such luck. Here one day, gone the next. Been driving poor Annabeth up the walls. Your mom was beside herself. The blonde told her beau, getting the boy to sigh out at that, poor mom. Mew crooned and Naruto consoled her by stroking the underside of her beak, knowing that she as an animal was affected by the dark emotions filling his table. He looked at his meal, feeling bad for comparing Percy to Sasuke when he was actually missing. I forgive you. Percy forgave. Naruto excused himself and dumped the rest of his meal in the hearth, apologizing for ending the meal so rudely and thanking them for hosting him. Those ninja classes on manners were useful after all, before he went over to Cabin 6's table. Where he would be welcomed with open arms. Athena stated. The children of Athena looked up at his arrival, his claiming appearing over his head again making Naruto wave at it in annoyance. He was claimed already, wasn't he? I wanted to remind them. The weaver smirked, getting a few eye rolls. You want to sit down? Offered one of the boys, he had the same blonde hair as Annabeth, who had disappeared from the pavilion, and the same eyes. No thanks, said Naruto with a shrug. Can you tell me where Annabeth went? I want to ask her something. Ask her out. Leo. Annabeth glared as Percy joined her. The Latino held up his hands, joke, joke. Seriously, chill you two. The glares didn't lessen. She probably went back to the cabin, said the boy. I'm Malcolm, I was there when you got claimed earlier. Oh yeah, that. So Aphrodite's cabin, huh? What about it? Nothing, just be grateful you're not Butch's brother. He's a nice guy, but the crap he gets for his mom. Ponies and rainbows. Leo snickered. Dude, Frank frowned, he like Iris, she was very sweet once you met her. Sorry, Leo snickered, not sounding very sorry. Who's his mom? Iris, goddess of rainbows. Ouch. Yeah, but like I said, he's a nice guy. Well, thanks Malcolm, I'm gonna go see if I can get Annabeth to talk to me, said Naruto with a nod of his head, while Malcolm shrugged. Good luck. Without her, I'm in charge and quite frankly it kind of sucks. That and seeing her sulk is really weird after seeing her so happy for so long. Annabeth flushed, sorry Malcolm. She amended, but at least he was happy she was happy. He was a good second in command. Naruto stood on the steps of cabin 6, looking up at the owl that was over the doorway and then back at Mew. I dunno if Athena will let you go in, Mew, said Naruto apologetically. The eagle caught the drift and flew off towards cabin 10, where she was oddly welcomed with open arms. Naruto felt bad that he had to send her away, but he really wanted to talk to Annabeth. Something was telling him to help her out, and doing so he would be rewarded with more than just gratitude, but something of equal reward. That grand wisdom insight? Percy asked his girlfriend. Probably. Annabeth nodded, I mean, I have notes on his dad, so something might come up and he gets it. So yes, wisdom insight. She nodded proudly of her nephew. Curious about what that inkling meant, Naruto raised his hand and knocked on the door of the cabin. He waited a few seconds, shifting awkwardly on his feet. Just when he thought it was time to go, the door cracked open and Annabeth looked at him with her jaw clenched, as though she was trying not to cry. He could tell she had been by tear-stained cheeks and the red puffy eyes she had. Percy felt horrible at the sight of it, but it was fine, they would meet up soonish. Naruto felt bad that Annabeth felt this way, not knowing how she was feeling personally, but empathetically. Hi Annabeth, said Naruto, smiling sheepishly. Look, I know now isn't exactly the best time, but, I'm sort of. You're a legacy of Athena, said Annabeth with a nod. Malcolm told me. It's all the cabin can talk about at lunch. Curious about the boy no doubt. Hera stated, always liking her stepdaughter's children due to their unique birth. She was really strong for not letting her emotions get the best of her, but sometimes you had to let go. Let it go, Apollo sang out, let it go. He hummed and wrote that down, that is a keeper. He smiled. Naruto smiled a bit, recalling a similar experience after Jiraiya died. Looks like he was going to be playing Iruka's role this time around. Thanks Naruto. Annabeth smiled, he really was a good guy, no matter which version of him it was. Sorry if that bothers you, said Naruto. I want to know more about Athena. I know she's the goddess of wisdom and honorable warfare, but the second one really doesn't make sense. What is honorable warfare? A good question. Athena smiled, glad the boy wished to know more about her. Annabeth seemed to gain a gleam in her eye, explaining it as best she could to the blonde before her. He kept her talking about her mother and his ancestor, keeping her mind off of Percy for the time being. Good job, the war goddess praised as Percy pouted playfully to Annabeth. The blonde just giggled softly. He was invited in after she talked about weapons, when Naruto remembered he was literally without a kunai, shuriken or anything else. So before he could even finish asking about what the demigods usually fought with, Annabeth pulled him into the weapons shack. So what's he going to go for? Ares wondered with interest. We're the best suited to help a demigod pick their weapon if they don't want to make their own, said Annabeth proudly, her eyes cleared up and back to their normal gray. So what do you think? Naruto looked over the options. There were a lot of swords, which made him frown. He wasn't a sword guy. That was Sasuke's shtick. A spear? Thalia asked. Go for the bow. He already has one with you, Apollo. No, he needs something else. The love goddess informed, getting a pout from the archery god. He liked getting up close and personal, hand to hand was always fun. He used kunai and shuriken to cover his long-range weaknesses, but there wasn't any of those anywhere. Maybe he could make them in arts and crafts like Annabeth said he could. Then something stuck out to him, something that called to him. What? Leo asked eagerly. His feet moved him and his eyes scanned the rack of weapons for what was reaching for him. He found it at the edge of the long-range weapons, leaning against the wall, not even on the rack. It was caked in dust, but still beautiful in Naruto's eyes, unused but full of potential. True, he is an unorthodox fighter. Athena mused, wondering what long-range weapon it was. A simple bow staff, but it was far from being just a staff, something deep within him told him so. Caps that had silver paint chipping off of them covered both ends. The staff itself was a faded bronze and had an obvious gap at the center. Lame, Leo frowned, dude could do so much better. Naruto reached for it, grabbing one half that slid off of the other, revealing a sharp surprise that Naruto was all too familiar with from the war. Not quite, Elf, Aries said, things like those always have a surprise in the middle of them. Flashes of fighting against Madara's shadows had him stiffen before he came back at Annabeth's voice calling his name. Oh, so he has experience with it. Perfect. The war goddess nodded, familiarity with a weapon was important after all. I'll take it, said Naruto, grabbing the other end and flipping it expertly in his hand so that the other sharp tip was away from his palm. He began an intricate dance, one he didn't know where he picked up, possibly ingrained from his fighting in the war, but one that was memorized all the same. He finished by connecting the staff, clicking it together with a grin. I just did one of those kung fu moves, right? Jason asked Piper, who nodded, amazed by the flurry of moves. Oh yeah, he would do well as a stunt guy. Sweetie, with a face like that, he can do his own stunts. True. But surely you want something else, said Annabeth weakly. The guy would get killed if he ran out there with that old thing. She obviously hadn't heard about the Hydra yet. Hazel smirked. Piper added, or seen him fight. Annabeth flushed, yes, laugh it up. She added. Still, a weird choice for a weapon. No, I want this, said Naruto, nodding as he looked at it. A smile spread across his face. It feels right. And for a weapon, you always go with your gut. And then you stab the gut of your enemies. How poetic, Ares. Thanks. The war god beamed, not even noticing Apollo's sarcasm. I can't stop you, said Annabeth, still a bit unsure about his choice. But I really don't think it's smart. The legacy of Athena, not smart. Poseidon said a mock-shocked tone. Stupid fish face. Love you too, owl brat. The smartest thing you can do is to follow your gut, said Naruto with a grin, quoting Jiraiya. His quote made Annabeth's eyes go wide. Ooh, someone's heard that one before. Piper stated with a grin. About to learn how they're related to each other it seems. Jason nodded, good for them. Where did you hear that? She asked him. Naruto blinked and his smile died down. My sensei Jiraiya. Gay Jiraiya no Gama? She asked hesitantly. 6 foot tall, white hair and toad sage, Jiraiya. So that's what he looks like, Apollo mused, they never talked about him much in his Naruto story. You know Hirosenin? Naruto asked, nearly dropping his new weapon in shock. How was that even possible? Heard of him? Annabeth corrected. I am her Tails, said Annabeth. She rushed back into the main room of cabin 6, Naruto quickly following after her. The daughter of Athena scoured the bookshelf, asking herself what she did with it. She ran over to one of the bunks shoved to the side of the room and began nearly tearing it apart before she found what she was looking for. Eureka. Be quiet, Leo. The dark leather-bound book with very familiar kanji written on the front in bright yellow. Nice, give your kids Japanese owl pellets. Athena snorted, like she would do that. But she was interested what was in that book. Yondaime Hokage, said Naruto, his eyes widening. You can read it? Annabeth asked, looking at the kanji with wide eyes. It's like a mix of Japanese and Cantonese, I can't make sense of it, the inside is Greek. See. Athena smirked as Ares gritted his teeth at being wrong, stupid owl girl. But Naruto, who is this man to you? Well, you see Jason trailed off with a smile. He's my father, why? Naruto asked. You're about to find out. Annabeth smiled widely as she held the book tightly. Because Naruto, he's my brother, said Annabeth. Minato Namikaze was a son of Athena. The reveal is out. Hermes smirked, nice ending to a chapter. Annabeth nodded as she closed the book and put it down, yeah, for sure. Oh man, I can't for the next chapter. Hopefully we come in. Leo smirked, oh man, was that going to be fun. Chapter 3. Training. Here you go Percy. Annabeth smiled to her bow, getting him to roll his eyes. Fine. He said sounding annoyed, but he still had a small smile on his face. A son of Athena. Naruto said, blinking in confusion before it clicked. Wait, does that mean Athena's my grandmother? I know, I pity you. Poseidon nodded mocking as Athena just gave him a dull glare. Seems that way, said Annabeth with equal surprise. A legacy only one generation away, he's almost eligible to be in her cabin. I'd let him let's stay. Athena said in an honest tone. Aphrodite glared at her, no, he'll stay in my cabin, thank you very much. Then I pity him for having to stay in that Barbie house. The wisdom goddess sniffed. Does that make you my aunt? Naruto asked, a smile spreading across his face. Yes. Annabeth nodded with a grin. Well technically yes Annabeth started to say, only for Naruto to cut her off. Sweet. I'm gonna call you Aunt Annabeth. He said with a blinding smile. Annabeth blinked before frowning a bit. The blonde blanched as Percy sniggered at that. Please don't call me that. She said. Okay Aunt Annie, said Naruto, grinning widely. I like it, Thalia laughed openly. Shut up Thalia. Definitely not. Annabeth said flatly. What about Auntie Anne? He asked innocently. Oh even better. The hunter smirked as Annabeth glowered at her. No. Please. No. Please. No. Anoba. Not the Japanese nicknames. The gray-eyed girl groaned. You're not going to stop until I say yes, are you? Annabeth asked dryly. Nope. Naruto said with a grin. He was having far too much fun with this. Jerk, Annabeth pouted with crossed arms. Fine. Annabeth said, giving her nephew a stern look. Just not in public. No. Don't agree. GRR, shut up Thalia. The blonde shouted at the hunter who was holding her sides in laughter. You got it, Anababa. Naruto said with a grin. Annabeth just shook her head in exasperation. Wasn't that some DBZ character? Leo. The blonde son of Aphrodite's grin fell slightly as he looked at the book in Annabeth's hands as she started to flip through it. He thought about the war once again, his father's reanimated corpse fighting alongside him in their tailed beast forms, helping Naruto get some near-fatal blows on Obito. He knew that Minato was his father and that he was a strong and smart shinobi, but that was it actually. After Madara was defeated, all of the revived shinobi crumbled back into dirt, his father included. He hardly got to know the man. I sense some bonding time coming. Frank said as Annabeth looked interested at the prospect. Annabeth. His voice was softer and carried weight in it that hadn't been there before. She looked at him curiously, seeing him look at the book longingly. See could I see that? Of course. The blonde child of wisdom nodded, her other would certainly do so. Of course, she said, handing Naruto the book. Annabeth watched as he took it carefully, as though it could turn into dust as soon as he touched it. His brows furrowed as he looked at the lines in the book. He flipped through the pages, the same confused look on his face. I know the feeling. Percy nodded in condolences as he had issues with reading ancient Greek when he first started out. I can't read this, he said. Annabeth immediately gained a look of understanding. It's in ancient Greek, she said. I could teach you how to read it. Really? Naruto asked, a bit surprised. His smile became splitting, it was so wide. Thanks Annabeth. Aw, isn't that nice? Piper teased playfully. Scared he'll like me more? DSH, I'll be the favorite. The charm speaker said assurance, getting Annabeth to roll her eyes playfully. Let's go to a table and we'll start off with the alphabet, said Annabeth, going to one of the work tables covered in papers, strategies of old kings and generals from different eras spread across it, cleaning it a bit to make some room for them. It should be a bit more organized. Athena pointed out as her daughter flushed. But it's easier to know where stuff is like that to be honest. Her mother just made a hum at the statement. This is going to take a while isn't it? Naruto asked, a bit hesitant to begin a class. He leaned his staff against a wall by the bunks and quickly joined her by the table. Well yeah, it's not like you can just learn ancient Greek in a day, said Annabeth with a snort. Great, Annabeth huffed, he's going to show off the clones. You're so jealous. Annabeth pinched Percy's arm with pink cheeks, shut it. She mumbled as the boy said ouch, but was still grinning at her. You have to put in hours of effort, it could take months before you could read ancient Greek without struggling. Usually year-round campers get it down in their first year. Months, huh? Naruto asked, dropping the journal on the desk. He lifted his hands into his favorite or coined, depending on who you ask seal. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Annabeth covered her face with her arms as smoke suddenly exploded around her and she cut through it with her knife getting a popping sound. Knifing your own nephew? It suddenly exploded in my cabin, forgive me for being jumpy Thalia. When the smoke fully cleared, her eyes widened as filling the room to the brim with Naruto duplicates, all grinning at her. There was even one hanging from the rafters of the cabin by his feet, while about half of them had claimed the bunks to the side as seats. The rest were either seated atop the bookshelves or standing around her with their arms crossed or their hands on their hips. Every girl's fantasy come to life. Aphrodite. Artemis hissed. But the goddess blinked, any girl would be drooling at a sight like this. Well what is this? Annabeth asked. My favorite jutsu. And Naruto, hopefully the original, said with a blinding grin. The Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, a forbidden A-rank jutsu that lets me make shadow clones of myself from my chakra. I'm my own army, and the best part is, every experience a clone gets before it dispels I retain for myself. And cue jealous fit of the century. Oh be quiet, Piper. Annabeth pouted as the Native American grinned. She wasn't jealous she wasn't. Okay, she was. But how could she not be? You lucky jerk and they're corporeal, said Annabeth, poking one of the clones in the chest, making him bat away her hand with a smirk. She frowned at it and punched it in the arm, making it pop and making her gasp in surprise. Oh, yeah, but they're extremely fragile, said Naruto with a chuckle, his clones grinning while in the back a couple of clones broke into a fight. They dispelled each other and Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose. They're insubordinate, too. Idiots. The terrible downside. Hermes stated with a shake of his head, but they'd be wonders for business. Clone from the best. One chirped before another dispelled it with a hard punch. Naruto smirked at his clones before looking back at the odd Annabeth. Do you know what I would do to be able to do something like this? Annabeth asked him. Can you teach me? Ooh, sorry Annabeth, Hazel winced, you need chakra. Stop rubbing it in. The gray-eyed girl whined with a pouty pout. Yeah, see it's forbidden for a reason, said Naruto, scratching the back of his neck sheepishly while some of the clones began to flip through the books on the shelves, able to read the English texts. The technique cost so much chakra that it would kill anyone with less than Jonin level reserves. Lucky for me, I've got at least 2 kgs worth on my own. Heck, this batch barely cost 1/10 of my reserves. Annabeth just sat down and rubbed her head as she took this all in. From what she read from her mother's journal about Minato, chakra had to be trained from a young age in order to be used. It allowed the mortals of the moving continent, or the Isle of Letoids, as it was once called before it expanded in size, to do amazing feats, but this she never expected a legacy of all people to have the ability to learn as fast as he wanted to. Athena was beaming in pride at that mention. And being a son of Aphrodite, Naruto was attractive naturally, and already there were whispers around the camp, so went the gossip at her table from her sisters, about him. If it ever got out that he could fill the camp with clones of himself, poor guy would never be left alone. True. Piper nodded, the girls at camp were like that at times. You'd have them flocking to him in droves. Leo whistled but rubbed his chin, think he needs a wingman. Leo? Wha? Just asking is all. The pyro waved off Jason's look. So what do you want us to do? Naruto asked, breaking Annabeth from that line of thought. She looked around at the expectant and curious blondes looking at her, making her smirk and stand up. Iraq those troops, Annie. Oh, you know I will. Time for super teaching. Poor guy. Percy muttered, but the playful slap to his shoulder meant his girlfriend heard him. Alright, on the bookshelf is several copies of ancient Greek for beginner books, let's get started on that, said Annabeth. The clones immediately looked to the others swarming the bookshelves, and Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. Yes, they were a step ahead of you, he said with a chuckle. Good policy. Annabeth snorted in amusement, oh that looked fun. After an hour of the beginner books, Naruto had the basics down, though he nearly collapsed from the information intake when the clones dispelled all at once. Annabeth guessed that made sense, considering that the human and demigod brain could only handle so much at a time. Still, getting the basics down that fast. It's very good. Athena nodded as Poseidon rolled his eyes. Order, she sounded so smug. They ended the lesson there, Annabeth a bit hesitant to do any more despite Naruto's urging. She wanted to see how he did with his chosen weapon anyway on the training field. The second she said the word training, Naruto's eyes lit up excitedly. The blonde moved so fast he didn't wait for Annabeth to finish telling him where to go. Finally, we get to see some action. Ares praised, seriously, it was getting boring. She managed to catch up with him and show him to the sparring grounds where a couple of brutish kids were. They all had the same Camp Half-Blood shirt on, but over that wore camouflage jackets. Off to the side was a girl dressed in the same manner with a spear in hand, watching 2 of the guys roll around on the ground. I think Cabin 5 is going to get owned by another new guy. Percy smirked as Ares snarled at him. No, they won't, damn, they might. She looked up at their arrival. What's up, Owlhead? She said, smirking at Annabeth. Naruto knew it was a derogatory name, but from the smirk and her posture could tell she meant it all in good fun. Reminded him of Sasuke calling him Dober, himself calling the jerk team. We're better than when we were younger, the blonde smirked, that's for sure. Nothing much, Claris, Annabeth said. She gestured to him. This is Naruto Uzumaki, new counselor of Cabin 10. Naruto, this is Claris Learu, counselor of Cabin 5. Ares, right? Naruto asked. Claris's smirk grew. Not bad for a newbie. Time for initiation? She asked, a bit eager to go for it. Really? Percy asked in a dry tone. They just don't do it in front of you anymore. Annabeth informed him, getting the raven-haired boy to frown, not cool. No, Claris, said Annabeth, shaking her head. I just want to see how good he is with his weapon. A bow staff? Claris asked, looking at the long stick Naruto held in one hand and rested on his shoulder. She smirked. Not a spear or a sword. Spears have a tip that's off balance, and my best friend back home has a sword for his shtick. Naruto said with a shrug. Ought to be original. Apollo nodded in approval. There was a familiar shriek, and Naruto looked up as Mew swooped in and landed on his unoccupied shoulder. I was wondering where you were. Mew crooned once more as he rubbed his finger under her beak, all the while Claris and Annabeth watched the interaction in confusion. I know, we all are. Leo nodded, that is one weird bird. Eagle. Zeus corrected sternly. Hades rolled his eyes, it's a bird, face facts. Zeus just glared at him. What's with the bird? Clarus asked, getting an insulted cry from Mew. Hush Mew, she didn't mean anything by it. Naruto said, calming the eagle. Mew is a golden eagle, said Annabeth, looking at the bird of prey with interest. Thank you. Zeus said as Annabeth smirked. Well, yeah, but I was gonna say she's a friend, said Naruto with a grin, while Mew gave him a small croon for his soft stroke along her beak. She sorta got attached to me while Billy and I were coming to camp. It could be a sign from Zeus, said Annabeth quietly, trying to figure out why the king of Olympus's sacred bird was with Naruto. Because he liked the little windy thingy. Poseidon stated knowingly as he grinned to his brother. It wasn't a thingy, it was amazing. The king huffed. Nah, she would have told Billy something on our way here, said Naruto looking at his eagle with a grin. She just decided to come along for the ride. Right, Mew. Mew cried out again, making him chuckle. He may not know what she said exactly, but he got the gist of it from the feelings in her voice. See, own free will, Poseidon. Yes yes. The sea god waved off his pompous brother. He looked back at Annabeth with his grin still in place. So are we going to do this or what? Sure, let's just. Hold on there, owlhead, said Clarus, cutting Annabeth off and getting their attention. I think I should test the new guy. He is taking Selena's job, you know. Annabeth winced, yeah, she'd want to see what he can do. How bad was she with Drew? Piper asked. I think she once broke Drew's arm for bad-mouthing Selena. Ouch, good on her. The charm speaker nodded, Drew deserved it. Clarus, I don't think. Who's Selena? Naruto asked, blinking. Both of the girls looked at him like he was in the process of growing a second head before Clarus's eyes narrowed. Selena Beauregard was the best counselor that Cabin 10 ever had and was one of the biggest heroes of the second Titanomichi, said Clarus, her voice dangerously stern. The warriors of Manhattan nodded to that and Piper had a smirk on her face while her mother gave a sad sigh at the loss of her eldest child. That bitch Drew was not worthy of taking her job and now I want to see if you are, Blondie. Right now, you're teetering to the side of not being worthy. I don't care what Billy said you did to that Hydra. I think she's going to eat those words. Annabeth muttered. Yeah, but we still get to see some action with Naruto and his weapon. Jason added, sounded like a good time if he was honest. Naruto blinked at that and grinned at the challenge. I'll show you that I am, and when we're done, you can tell me more about Selena. She sounds awesome. And there's that cheerful nature to him. Naiko pointed out, he's different from Apollo Naruto. Probably because he didn't die, Thalia said with a frown. You should probably get ready to sweat and bleed, Blondie, said Clarus, gesturing to his jacket and the shirt he was wearing. Naruto looked down at his jacket with conflicting emotions before shrugging. He could always just sew it back together. So gets that from Grandma. Hermes smirked as Athena huffed. It was a useful skill. I'm good, he said, taking his necklace off and holding it out to Annabeth. Mind holding this for me though? It's sentimental. Sure, said Annabeth, taking the necklace for him while Mew took to the sky. Clarus is gonna fight the new guy. Cried out from a member of Cabin 5. The fighting kids gathered around them on either side of the two and Annabeth stepped back to join them while Mew landed on the branch of a tree not too far away. There was a bit of chattering and Naruto saw familiar faces from his cabin joining up with members of Clarus's. Malcolm and a few of his siblings joined the circle as the word quickly spread, surprising Naruto at that. Gossip travels fast. Annabeth laughed as everyone was eager to see how this would play out. He also noticed there were a whole lot of other girls gathered around his sisters, making him blink in surprise and wonder whose children they were. To ogle the new meat, no doubt, Aphrodite smirked, not that I blame them, my boy is amazingly handsome after all. Deciding to put those thoughts aside, Naruto rolled his neck and gripped his bow staff at the center with both hands, twisting and separating it while Clarus pointed her spear at him. Naruto twirled his two baton-like staves in his hand before settling in a stance with one pointed at Clarus while the other was parallel with his head, keeping the pointed edges in from his opponent. There was nothing but the soft chanting of Clarus's name from her cabin mates and a few others, one sounded suspiciously like Drew. Piper just gave a dull blink, really? Just, really? Drew, your shallowness knows no bounds. Naruto took a deep breath before his eyes hardened and he shot backward to compensate for Clarus's charge. Sidestepping the thrust aimed at his midsection, Naruto used his right baton to knock her spear down into the dirt and his left to deliver a swift strike to her shoulder. Clarus hissed, retreating and rolling her shoulder to relax it while they circled each other. Naruto used his batons to deflect small jabs sent at his head and body, getting a few whispers from the crowd. Decent so far. Ares mused. Didn't he mess with your boy Mark as Apollo's boy? Fuck off, speed stick. Stop footing around and someone draw blood already. Shouted a guy in the crowd. Yeah. Ares cheered too as Frank shook his head in shame. Claris's eyes hardened at that and she once more thrust forward, which Naruto sidestepped again, but he failed to avoid the sudden blow across the face from the other end of her spear. How dare she? It's a fight. Not the point, Ares. It's the moneymaker, you don't touch that. Naruto rolled with it, quickly getting back to his feet while moving his jaw around to make sure nothing was broken. That was going to bruise. How'd you like that one, Blondie? Claris asked with a smirk. My friend Sakura hits harder than you, said Naruto absent-mindedly, though Claris still took it as an insult considering the feminine name he used. Wasn't that the one who could make earthquakes with her fists? Athena noted with a sly look to Poseidon, who bristled. Yep. Thalia said, not liking the pink bitch at all. Her pink wasn't even the main reason she hated her, surprisingly. Are you saying I hit like a girl? Yes. Bad wording. Percy snickered, Claris would take that way out of proportion. You're dead. Claris said, charging at him and stabbing her spear right at his head. Naruto yelped, wondering what he said wrong, as he ducked and dodged out of the way of her spear. He dodged too soon in one instance, allowing Claris to once more strike out with the other end of her spear and get Naruto right in the gut. Naruto's eyes went wide and he fell to his knees with a gasp as the air was forced out of him. That was definitely a Sakura-like hit. When angered, girls can always did hard as hell. Apollo said, knowing from experience. Artemis just sent him a smug look that made him wince. He coughed and used his left stave to get back to his feet, ducking under a side swipe of Claris's spear and stumbling back as she did a swipe back in the way it came. There was a sound of tearing fabric and Naruto looked down to see his shirt sliced open, revealing his stomach. Give the girl something to dream about. Mom. There was a catcall and a few whistles that came from behind Claris, making her drop her focus on him for 1 second to use her peripheral vision in an effort to determine where that came from. Ooh, bad move, war girl. Percy shook his head. Naruto used this distraction to his advantage by getting inside Claris's defense. He used his left stave to keep her spear down and out of his way, while bringing the right up over his shoulder and then swinging it, cracking Claris across the face hard enough to send her to the ground. That got a collective of winces from the demigods as Ares gritted his teeth. Oh, the girl better not lose, he was Dite's kid. And a legacy of Athena, that would be even more insulting. Naruto had his staves at his side while he panted, raising them up on his guard while Claris got to her feet, rubbing the left side of her jaw. She moved her jaw much like he did his own when he got hit before she turned to the side and spat out a tooth. Now that has to suck. Apollo winced, he prided on his kids having perfect teeth like their awesome dad. She looked back at the blonde son of Aphrodite, who stepped away from her spear and thus from her while staying in his defensive stance. Not bad, Blondie. Claris said, picking her spear up with a savage grin on her face while a bit of blood came from the corner of her mouth. She twisted part of the spear and the head crackled to life caked in red electricity. Lamer. Percy snickered as Ares glared at him. That's so cool, said a grinning Naruto. His grin fell. Oh, you're going to use that on me, aren't you? Yep. Well, shit. I had the same reaction. Percy said with a look of sympathy on his face. Naruto was once more put on the defensive, avoiding the head of Claris's spear while it was thrusted in his direction again and again. More tears were added to his shirt, which he could honestly care less about, but a few that nicked his arms made him groan in annoyance. His jacket was totally going to get shredded or burnt. That's that from his mother. Artemis smirked, seems he really is yours. And what was the claiming, Artemis just smirked more, getting the love goddess to huff. So her boy was worried about his jacket, that just meant he liked it. Time out, Naruto said, jumping back from Claris's spear. No timeouts, surrender. Come on, just let me take my jacket off. I love this thing. Poor guy, Piper nodded, she liked her border jacket too. Not happening, Blondie. What happened to common courtesy? Naruto asked as he slid out of the way of another thrust that nicked the carving on his left arm. Oi. That tears it. He crouched low to the ground before jumping up, making the demigods watching crane their necks up high as he did. Yu let out a cry and took off after him, their height hidden by the fluffy white clouds passing overhead. The jump Superman would be proud of. Leo whistled. Seriously, white boy can jump. A second passed before Mew returned, in her talons held carefully was the orange jacket. Naruto was vehement about getting to safety. She dropped it in Lacey's arms before returning to her perch. At least the jacket's safe. Yes, Hermes nodded to the Lady of Doves, let's not worry the kid, just jump how many feet? Oh hush, Hermes. Thought so. Claris ignored the eagle, keeping her eye on the sky and waiting patiently. A minute ticked by and she scowled. How high did he jump? How the heck did he even manage to jump that high? Can he fly or something? Frank asked at the airtime the guy was having. No, Zeus stated. There was another cry and another eagle flew down to land on a branch opposite of Mew. Claris felt her eye twitch in annoyance. "Come down here, you freaking coward." "Well, since you ask so nicely." Clara swiveled around to look behind her but saw nothing aside from the crowd and Mew perched on the branch. Clarice turned around again, searching for him. This turned out to be her downfall. "How sad," Athena said in a haughty tone as Ares glared at her. She heard a pop, the crowd gasped, her name called by her cabin mates, and then felt something blunt strike her upside her head. Clarice fell forward as her vision went dark, catching herself on her knees and going still when a pointed end of Naruto's stave was held at her throat. "Owned," Percy grinned, Naruto was still Naruto, and he was awesome. "I win," Naruto said with a grin from where he stood next to Clarice. "The henge no jutsu," Annabeth said under her breath. He had disguised himself as the first Mew to land, while the other waited before landing on the other side of the circle. Frank looked grumpy. "That's my thing," he said, sounding put out. Hazel just rubbed his arm. "It's okay, you do it better." That got the Canadian to smile. When Clarice had her back on him, he took advantage and got her pinned. It was truly a strategy worthy of Athena. A simple misdirection, basic, but then again, those are always best at times. "Stuff it, owlhead." The war god sneered and crossed his arms. Twice the blonde humiliated his kids, in 2 different dimensions. "How the hell did you do all of that?" Clarice asked when he lowered his stave from her neck. Naruto put his weapons back into their bow staff form and grinned at her. "Ninja moves," he said, getting a frown from Clarice. "Very nice moves." Annabeth smirked. Man, being a ninja sounded so awesome. He yelped when she socked him in the arm. "That was for saying I hit like a girl," she said. "But Sakura hits really hard," Naruto said with a whine, rubbing his arm. "She can break boulders with her punches." It was really a compliment or something. Leo hummed in thought. "Oh," Clara said with a sheepish smile. "Sorry." "It's no big deal," Naruto said, shrugging. He looked down at his shirt and frowned. "Was all that necessary? This literally is the only shirt I have." While Clarice prepared a smartest reply, Naruto pulled his long-sleeved shirt off, getting an even louder whistle from his sister Lacey. The daughter of Ares gaped at his spontaneous decision to strip and, regrettably, admired his form. "Doesn't she have a boyfriend?" Piper asked. "Sweetie, let the girl look, nothing wrong with that." His abs were worked to the point you could probably chisel diamonds on them, and his pecs were large enough for her hand to fit in. His shoulders were as big as her fist, and his arms were at least 22 inches around. He was definitely not built like a son of Aphrodite, that was for sure. "Very true," Ares stated, getting a pout from his girlfriend. Man, Naruto's voice broke many girls from their staring. He was looking over his torn shirt with a frown. "It's gonna take at least 30 minutes to fix all of these holes. And my jacket. Good time estimation," Athena praised. "Naruto, you could always just get a camp shirt from the camp store," said Annabeth, shaking her head in amusement. He had to be talking about sewing, which is something he had to have gotten from Athena. Naruto looked at her with a blink before he grinned. "There's a camp store. Cool," he said, beaming as he folded his shirt up and threw it over his shoulder. Mew landed on his shirt-covered shoulder, making Naruto chuckle as he followed his aunt to where the camp store was. Aphrodite's cabin swiftly followed, intent on helping their brother look good. "You go, kids." Piper just palmed her face at her mom's cheering. While the crowd dispersed, a lot of the girls watching gossiping about the new hot tie. "Sadly, yes." Annabeth grumbled. Seriously, Naruto was going to have problems with all these girls, he was almost too good looking for his own good. Clarice's cabin mates walked over to her, her second-in-command Mark smirking at her. "So Clarice, should we warn Chris he may have some competition from the new guy?" "Burn," Thalia laughed. "Shut up, Mark." What an Ares response. "Fuck off, cripple." See. Naruto was absolutely giddy as he walked out of the camp store, completely oblivious about the furious blush that was on the face of the poor cashier from when he walked in. "That poor girl," Hazel snickered. The camp shirt was orange. He could honestly die happy now. "Oh yeah, he loves that color." Jason nodded in remembrance. "Well, maybe not now since that would leave Drew in charge again, but that's not the point he's trying to make." Sure, it was a bit tight, but his sisters said it was better that way. "Nice call, girls." He really wished they had fishnet armor, though. When he had asked for where he could get some armor, he was told to go to Hephaestus's cabin, who he recalled were technically his step-siblings considering his mother's marriage to Hephaestus. He was curious about them, especially when Annabeth told his gossiping sisters to stop talking about some curse that was on their cabin. "Meh, I fixed it," Leo bragged. Mitchell explained it, talking about the death of the last counselor, Selena's boyfriend, Charles Beckendorf, being the cause of it. So now, there he went, off to satisfy his curiosity with complete disregard for the camp schedule that Annabeth was trying to get him to stick to. "That little. He's taller than you," Piper told her. "That big jerk. At least follow the paper." The blonde pouted. "Naruto, come on, you want to be a good cabin counselor, don't you?" Annabeth asked as she followed him. "Well yeah, but I also want to see Hephaestus's cabin and meet his kids. They're supposed to be my brothers and sisters, right?" Naruto asked. Hephaestus snorted at that while Aphrodite rolled her eyes as well. It was a sweet thought, but no. As he looked up at the soaring Mew, who was keeping an eye on him from above. That bird really did not like him being out of her sight. "By technicality, yeah I guess, but they're only your step-siblings," Annabeth said. "And your mom and Hephaestus don't really get along well." "No, really?" Naruto asked sarcastically. "Boy couldn't have said it better," the smith muttered. Even he figured that out. How his mom managed to grow up as a Jinchuriki while being a goddess, Naruto wasn't sure, but he did know through their word and through Konohan law that Kushina Uzumaki was married to Minato Namikaze, even if she didn't take his name. He was pretty sure that Hephaestus would have smote his father, demigod or not, for marrying Aphrodite if they were that close. That didn't mean Naruto didn't feel bad for the guy, though. The Smith god for once was a bit stunned. Daite's kid feeling bad for him was Chronos coming back. "Hey, watch the sarcasm, buddy." "Sorry, Anababa. What did I say about calling me that?" "Yeah. Not in public." Thalia sniggered as Athena turned pink and glared at her for the remark. "Something about not in public or something, I dunno." He shrugged and walked up the steps to the machine-oriented cabin. Raising his fist, Naruto banged on the metal door and waited patiently before it creaked and pulled open. The girl that opened it was pretty, a lot like the other girls in the camp, but not in a way like his sisters were. She was more like an experienced kunoichi, like Tenten or Tamari, with a hard face that was accented by soft curves instead of angles. Her skin was matcha-colored and she had dark hair held back by a red bandana. "First person I saw when I went there too." Leo smirked. "Hi." Naruto said with a grin and a raised hand while she stared at him. His eyes shut as he continued to friendly grin at his stepsister, thus making him miss the small lick of her lips while her eyes worked up and down his body. Leo blanched, did not need to hear that. "Why?" Piper grinned, "Too much for you, playboy." "Yes." Annabeth cleared her throat, making both of them look at her, in Naruto's case with a confused look, while the girl looked annoyed. "Annabeth, you shouldn't stop a girl from ogling, it isn't nice." The love goddess mock scolded as the blonde rolled her eyes. "Hi Nissa." Annabeth said, an amused smile on her face at the girl, Nissa's, annoyed look. "This is Naruto Uzumaki, new counselor of Cabin 10. He wants to meet Jake." "Of course he is," said Nissa, sounding a bit disappointed. She smiled back at Naruto, once again reminding him of Tamari or Tenten with the confidence she had behind it. "Name's Nissa, come on. I'll take you to Jake." "I'll be back at the cabin then, Naruto. You should go talk to Chiron when you're done here to get a schedule," said Annabeth, shaking her head. "Always with the organization," Naiko shook his head. "It's important." Annabeth argued. "Aha. Okay." Naruto said with a grin as she walked off, before walking in and looking around at the steam pipes that made the cabin sweltering hot. "Whoa, you guys really are the Smith God's kids, aren't you?" "Damn right." Leo nodded. "And don't you forget it, Blondie," said Nissa, smirking. She opened a door and Naruto nearly burst into pools of sweat then and there, finding the main forges of the camp. Several guys and a couple of girls were gathered around a table, one guy pointing at something on it. Nissa whistled, making them look up. She nodded in Naruto's direction. "Jake, the new cabin counselor wants to meet you." "Okay, he's met me," said the guy that was pointing at the table, assumed to be Jake. "He does know we're in the middle of working on our problem, right?" "Dragons," Leo shook his head, "it's always the dragons." "Leo, we get it." Jason rolled his eyes, but Leo just grinned cheekily. "Problem?" Naruto asked, walking into the room. Nissa lingered behind him a bit. "No doubt to check out that ass." Apollo laughed as Leo groaned, not wanting to hear this. But came up to his side when he stopped. He held a hand out. "Naruto Uzumaki, Cabin 10. You're the guy that was at the top of the hill, right?" Jake asked, taking his hand and shaking it in a firm grip. "The one crying about his calluses?" "Low blow," Ares snickered. "Shut up." Naruto said with a pout as he took his hand back. "As Daite's pout, that's for sure." Hermes smirked. "Oh, I think we're going to get along just fine." Jake said with a small laugh. "Wish I could talk some more, but we've kind of got a problem to deal with." "Can I help?" Naruto asked. Jake smirked at him and clapped him on the arm. "Not unless you know how a converter connects to a socket," he said. "You put a thing in a thing." Jason simplified, getting Leo to glare. "Not cool, dude." Didn't stop Jason from smirking though. Don't worry about it," said Jake. "It's the thought that counts. We really need to get back to work on this though." "Alright, well if you need help let me know," said Naruto. He put his hands in his pockets and shrugged. "I guess I'll go talk to Chiron and get a schedule." Hey, while you're there, can you tell him we'll probably be in the forest again? Jake asked. Dude is into self-inflicting pain. Leo, Hephaestus rumbled, not all are immune to fire. Hephaestus's fire still hurt though. The boy mumbled. Naruto nodded, making the counselor grin. Thanks. No problem. Naruto said with a smile. Nissa led him back out of the cabin and inviting him back whenever he needed some work done. Naruto just grinned as he left cabin 9, looking at Miu as she landed on her perch on his shoulder. Cabin 9 is awesome, Miu. Especially Nissa, she's pretty cool for someone who deals with so much heat. Aphrodite rubbed her chin with a smirk. Mom, stop plotting. Aw, the goddess whined for being called out by her daughter, I was just thinking. Please don't. Piper shivered, feeling sorry for Naruto already. Naruto enjoyed a calm walk to the big house, shaking his head in amusement at the ridiculous name the building had. He really hoped one of the kids of an older generation called it that because the last thing Naruto needed was some god getting on his back about laughing at their building's name. Miu seemed to really enjoy the camp from what Naruto could feel through his empathy. What kind of bummed Naruto out though was his lack of interaction with Billy. Seriously, he felt ditched. Wow, dude ditched him. Harsh. Leonissa snorted at the pyro, please, he has to talk to Grover, business before fun Lion-O. Brushing off the feeling of being ditched, Naruto took his surroundings in, watching the campers as they trained now. Naruto wasn't Rock Lee or Mito guy, but he did way more than the campers did. This felt like, well, it felt like it was aptly named. A camp. We like to have fun too. Percy frowned. Maybe Naruto could introduce these guys to some real training. He wondered what the hand-to-hand was like and if it could keep up with his Gamma Ken. So Naruto swoops in and begins training the brats once more. Good. Ares nodded, the kid does good work. Naruto. Well, if it wasn't the goat that ditched him. Burn the goat. Naruto grinned as Billy came up alongside him, a grin on his face while he wore the same orange shirt. Miu squawked at him, and Billy chuckled. No, I didn't forget you, Miu. You guys liking camp so far? It's amazing, said Naruto with a grin. He frowned. You didn't tell me that Percy Jackson went missing. Oh yeah, well I figured he was at home with his mom, said Billy. He isn't a year-rounder so I didn't really hear much other than he wasn't in his cabin when I left for New York. Reasonable. Percy nodded, not the young goat's fault then. You also didn't tell me about Selena Borgert or Charles Beckendorf. Okay, that was my bad. Yes it was. Piper and Leo nodded. I was more concerned with the fact that you're a sage, Billy said. For a satyr that's like meeting a demigod of Pan, may he rest in peace. Really? Percy asked as Apollo and Hermes nodded. So true wethead, that is big stuff. Sage is a dead career in today's world. Sad fact, Hermes nodded to his brother's words. Naruto nodded in agreement, recalling the tale of Pan and his unfortunate death. He would have liked to meet the original sage. As he thought that, Naruto wondered who the father of the old sage was. Knowing that gods and demigods existed raised a lot of questions for the grandson of Athena. Come on, Grover and Chiron want to talk to you. Billy said, making Naruto arch a brow and follow the young satyr up into the large farmhouse. Billy led Naruto through the building to the back porch where the other satyr from before and Chiron were playing a game of cards. Without me? Mr. D actually pouted, not fair. Grover, if you try to eat your hand again, I'm going to pull out the pinnacle chips. Honestly, the one good thing that came from the recall was the freedom to play whatever game I wanted, said Chiron, giving a stern look to the dark-haired satyr. Why that cheeky centaur? Sorry, Grover said sheepishly looking up with the board creaked under Billy's hoof. Oh hey Billy. Hi Grover, said Billy, beaming a grin at his hero. Just your average goat superhero. Thalia smirked, glad that her favorite goat was so well respected now. He nodded respectfully at Chiron. Chiron. William, said Chiron, getting a groan from the satyr. The centaur noticed the blonde behind him and smiled. Ah, Mr. Uzumaki. Welcome to the big house. Annabeth told me you'd be coming by, something about not going by a schedule. Shame on you, Percy mocked, take that Naruto. Well you know, being new and all, said Naruto with a sheepish chuckle. True, I may have rushed that. I planned to catch you after lunch, but you rushed off before I could, said Chiron, he then nodded to the eagle still on Naruto's shoulder. I see your friend hasn't left yet. Yeah, Miu's a real sweetie. Right Miu? Naruto asked with a smile to the bird as he stroked under her beak, getting a croon. She really likes you, said Grover in a mumble, lifting a card up to his mouth and dropping it at Chiron's clearing throat. Honestly, he'll eat anything. Annabeth laughed, ah, good times. The satyr flushed and set his hand down before he ate it. He looked at Billy, who nodded, and then at Naruto again. You know Billy said you were a sage. Telling secrets behind my back. I wondered why I sneezed earlier, Naruto said with a smirk. Oh come on, they of all people deserve to know, said Billy with a roll of his eyes. True, Hermes nodded. Are you? Grover asked seriously. Wow, G-man serious, he isn't even faking it. Percy commented, man, he's come a long way. As the Lord of the Wild and the chosen one of Pan, Grover had to be sure that all things related to nature aside from gods were, well, naturally right. Billy had told him that Naruto, while awed at the advances of humanity, felt sad that so much nature had to be sacrificed for these advances, making Grover skeptical. Not even Percy was that sympathetic with the satyr's cause. Yes, I am. Really? Nico asked in sarcastic disbelief. I happen to recycle. Annabeth patted Percy's cheek, stop talking seaweed brain. She told him in a pitying tone. Percy breathed at that. I am, said Naruto. He grinned. Let me guess, you want me to show you? If you wouldn't mind. Chiron asked, admittedly a bit curious. It had been a while since he met a sage, and that was at least 1500 years ago. Okay, Percy nodded to Apollo's earlier statement, that is a long time ago. Sure. Naruto said with a shrug. It wasn't like he had anything better to do, and it was always refreshing to meditate. He moved to the railing of the big house and took a seat on it. Like so many times before, Naruto crossed his legs and let his hands fall into his lap. But balance. Piper smirked, it was like he was just floating on the railing. Within seconds, being so close to the Lord of the Wild had its benefits, Naruto was in sage mode, getting wide eyes from Grover and Chiron. Gyu cried out again, settling onto her roost on Naruto's shoulder as nature embraced him. Behind him satyrs, dryads and animals came out of the woods to look at the blonde. Now watch as the nature spirits follow the blonde as he shows his epicness. Apollo said in a documentary tone. I don't believe it, said Chiron, not as affected by Naruto's presence as the rest of the nature spirits in camp. The campers soon gathered as well, wondering why the dryads and satyrs were gathered around the blonde. Because my boy is amazing. The love goddess bragged proudly. Demeter's children soon became a part of the group, their own connection with trees and crops, letting them get a taste for what the spirits felt. Only a sliver, but enough, the children's mother commented, happy that one outsider children had a strong connection with nature. Pollux, the only son of Dionysus, also stepped forward, absent-mindedly making strawberries grow around planks that made up the deck of the big house. Dionysus palmed, that was going to be a mess to deal with. Wonderful, but still, to have that kind of effect on his child interesting. Naruto finally exhaled, breaking the spell he didn't mean to have over the ones most affected by nature, opening his eyes and smiling at the squirrels that curled up in his hands. He looked at Grover, Billy and then Chiron, before releasing his connection with nature, causing the animals to scatter, getting some surprised sounds from the campers as they moved out of the way of the retreating horde of forest critters. It's a stampede. Hazel cried out. Run, Frank proclaimed, be free. His once again blue eyes landed on Grover again when the satyr started to speak. That was amazing, said Grover, smiling at the blonde and wiping away a tear. Whoa, Sea Child whistled, moved Grover to tears. Like we said, Hermes pointed out, this is big. I never thought that a human could understand what satyrs do. Don't get me wrong, the campers try, but they're still humans. Thanks Naruto. True, the campers did try since it was the satyrs that found them and would try to thank them by understanding their lifestyle. So this is what they wanted, huh? No problem, said Naruto with a grin as he hopped down from his seat. Didn't I tell you? Billy asked with a grin. A real sage. Well, perhaps power-wise, but there is more to being a sage than just power, said Chiron. Really? Jason asked as Apollo nodded. Yep, Chiron is one of the very few and selected sages left, and those are the immortal ones. What? Naruto asked. The toad said he was a sage. He ate all the bugs and everything that Ma cooked. They made my baby eat bugs. Well, in certain cultures. Be silent, Apollo. Bugs. My boy. How dare they? Well okay, maybe he didn't eat that stink bug, but could you really blame him? A sage also needs knowledge, wisdom to guide others to follow their teachings. Chiron said. Knowledge is one of the most important tools a sage has at his disposal. Athena nodded to this, but she had little doubt that Naruto could easily learn, especially with those clones of his. She never had a sage of her blood before the Weaver liked the sound of this. But he's a legacy of Athena, no brainer there, Chiron. Grover said, getting the trainer to nod. I see what he did there. Frank snickered, getting Athena to glare at him. Yes, but a sage is so much more than knowledge, Grover. Knowledge is a broad spectrum after all, said Chiron. Oh yeah, Annabeth nodded. He looked at Naruto with a smile. Mr. Uzumaki, I believe you could be a true sage with the right help. I would like to offer you that help. Right on, see, about time we had another sage around. Apollo cheered. Isn't that like playing favorites? Percy asked, getting a snort from Hermes. No way, Chiron is keeping a dead art alive. Traditions need to be passed down, and if Naruto can get others to learn as well, then good for the us. What things would you teach me? Naruto asked, curious. Different flora, proper applications of herbs, ways of the world as a sage would know it, philosophy and other things like that, said Chiron. On second thought, let Naruto learn away. Percy said, not even wanting to go near all that. I don't know about philosophy, but the satyrs can help with herbs, flora and fauna, said Grover, Billy nodding in agreement where he stood. Naruto looked behind him at the gathered satyrs, dryads and campers, and then looked at Mew, who remained settled in her roost on his shoulder. Also eager. Artemis chuckled, it was an amusing sight to see. She looked at him intently, her head inclining slightly in almost a nod. He looked back at the three looking at him expectantly with a smile. Well, with all the eyes on me, how could I say no? Naruto said with a small laugh. No, without getting beaten. Dionysus stated with a gleam in his eyes. He smiled softly when the trainer of heroes nodded and the satyrs high-fived, remembering the old man sage. Yeah, he could see why Ninshu was worth studying if it brought people together like this. This old sage guy sounds cool, Apollo grinned, maybe they would hear more about him. Weeks passed and Naruto fell into a comfortable routine at camp. Taking care of his siblings was the first thing he focused on. I can feel his agony from here. No one asked you, Artemis. I know, but someone had to say it, Aphrodite. We know poor Piper has to deal with it. Making his sisters train was no easy matter, he nearly pulled his hair out whenever they rebuffed his reasons as to why they should. Piper palmed her face. See. Aphrodite just glared at the smug huntress. When it finally came time to talk about his homeland and show them pictures that appeared in a small box at the big house, Naruto found their motivation by showing pictures of his friends. He laughed when Gaara and Sasuke ended up on the wall of Hades, poor bastards better never come visit or else they'll get swarmed. Well, that Gaara boy was very handsome. The Lady of Doves admitted. But why the emo guy? Piper complained. Still handsome. His brothers, on the other hand, were very easy to motivate. He simply said that it'll make them look a little less girly, and they were all for it. They loved the way they looked, yes, but they weren't that narcissistic. Aries laughed, less girly, ha. The second thing he would focus on would be his lessons with Annabeth or Malcolm when Annabeth was checking on Percy's mother. Percy smiled at his girlfriend, thanks for that. No problem, Percy, the blonde smiled, I needed some help too from her. It was good for both of us. Naruto went with her once and felt horrible that something so bad could happen to a woman as kind as Sally Jackson. Learning about clear-sighted mortals was a lot of fun and hearing stories about her life before meeting Percy's father, Poseidon, was genuinely interesting. He made it a point to join Annabeth at least once a week when she went to visit, if only to get a better understanding of the life of someone connected to their world that wasn't a demigod. Percy grumbled, okay, that was nice of him, the boy guessed. Maybe he was still irked by Apollo Naruto. According to Grover and Chiron, it was a great exercise of his empathy and understanding of the human mind. While his understanding of ancient Greek was coming along faster than the average demigod, his lessons with the satyrs about nature and the ways of the world today were going much better. Probably because it's better than books. Leo snickered. What was that, Leo? Nothing, Annabeth. Though for some reason the satyrs grumbled at him after the dryads would stop by to ask him some questions. Even the nature spirits, oh, I'm so proud of him. Except for Grover and Billy, they just laughed it off. Finally came his training as a sage. Chiron took full advantage of the Cage Bunshin, putting clones to work at studying the texture and images of various flora that could be found around the world or in Cabin 4's greenhouse, same difference. Demeter nodded proudly at that. Chiron said he was one of the quickest learners he had in the subject and Naruto wasn't sure if he was joking or not. Well, he is one of mine. Athena gloated. Yes, Athena, Hades groaned, we get it. He really felt some great respect for the original sages if they had to work so hard for what they did. It was funny to watch them, to be honest, Apollo snickered. Aside from those 4 primary parts of his time there, Naruto had a blast at the camp. He sparred with Claris and the rest of Cabin 5, quickly becoming a big source of entertainment in the camp by the size of the crowd, wondering how he would win or what jutsu he would use. Like a gladiator battle. Jason mused with a smirk, Dionysus brightened up at that thought. It was only a matter of time before other cabins asked him for help, and that was when he met the members of Cabin 11, the children of Hermes and their guests, demigods under the age of 13 that were unclaimed by their parents. You're welcome. Percy smirked as Hermes gave him a thumbs up. Oh, the fun he had with Hermes' kids, the pranks they devised, it was so fun. Great, Annabeth rubbed her temples, feeling the headache of her other from cross dimensions. You quickly became a big mascot of the camp. As she should. Oh, give it a rest, Zeus. Oh. Is someone sad that a horse isn't a mascot? The Gossi are on the camp shirts. Mascot. Poseidon seemed to simmer at that while Zeus looked smug. Despite sticking to him every day, even going as far as to make a nest on the window closest to his bed. At least she didn't bite the other members of his cabin, unless they were being particularly rude. She also helped Naruto claim the win for the capture of the flag game between Cabin 10 and Cabin 9. Though they were quickly rushed out of the forest for some reason after the game ended, particularly after there was a rusty-sounding roar coming from the forest. "You still played with that in there?" Leo asked Annabeth, who just nodded. "Of course." It was the 16th of December according to the modern calendar, and Naruto was basking in the warm summer heat, relaxing on the beach after another rather routine day. Oh. Leo smiled, "We come in on that day." "Nice," Piper nodded, her welcome into Cabin 10 would no doubt be better with Naruto in charge. Well, it was routine without Annabeth, who had been extremely jumpy for the past 3 days. She just up and left one day with Cabin 7's chariot and Butch in tow, since he was one of the best Pegasi riders they had. Leo snickered at that, "Ha, stupid Butch." Let it be known that Naruto never felt more bad for another man when he discovered that. Being the son of the goddess of rainbows and being the best Pegasus riders. That was pretty much the exact opposite of masculine. Ares gave a cruel laugh. Though Naruto did his best to hide the pity he felt whenever he and Butch talked, trying to sympathize as a fellow sufferer. No matter what he did, he could never get a unanimous vote to paint the interior of the cabin. "Ah, it's more girls than boys, Naruto, pink will reign supreme in my cabin." Aphrodite smirked in victory, "Good girls." Piper on the other hand gagged. At least he got himself and his brother some regular sheets to sleep in. Even Drew agreed to that vote, so that said quite a bit of the impact he had there. She had even started to stop using her charm speak on their siblings, so progress was being made. "Amazing, I didn't think rehabilitation was possible for her," Piper said in shock, getting her mother to pout. "Piper, she wasn't that bad." Annabeth and Piper snorted at that. That was a good thing, considering Naruto was getting tired of stopping her charmed victims from doing whatever chore she had told them to do for her. "Know my pain?" Piper groaned. He would retaliate by making Drew take the garbage out and wear the shoes of shame or whatever the hell they were called. It was stupid, but effective. Piper broke out into fits of laughter along with Annabeth as Aphrodite ashamed at the notion, oh her poor child. So there he was, playing fetch with Mew on the beach that was within the camp borders. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision to teach Mew to play fetch, and it was even easier than Naruto anticipated. It quickly became Mew's favorite game, catching whatever Naruto threw and bringing it back in her talons, dropping it in his hand and then landing on his shoulder or at his side. The boy and his eagle. Thaliamach wept. Zeus gave her a look, "It was a beautiful scene, thank you very much." Considering how he was lounging on the beach, she decided to land next to him, which he was grateful for. Mew's talons were sharp. "Alright, catch it before it hits the water, Mew, and you get a treat," said Naruto, holding up a stick and tossing it to the side as hard as he could, making the stick go flying. Mew released a cry and flapped her wings to get off of the ground before shooting after it. She snatched it seconds before it touched the water, but dropped it and swiftly returned to Naruto's shoulder as he sat up. His eyes were on the falling object heading for the beach. Apollo gave Annabeth a look, "Seriously, you kids?" "Sorry." The blonde amended. "Tell my kids that." He grabbed his staff buried in the ground next to him and got to his feet, separating it and preparing himself for a fight, while Cabin 7 came to the beach with their bows at the ready. The object turned out to be Butch and Annabeth in Cabin 7's now destroyed chariot, their Pegasi already galloping for the stables, while Butch chased after them. Will Solace, the counselor of Cabin 7 and a very good medic Naruto, met after inquiring about modern medicine. "That all will," Apollo grinned. Considering all he knew about was medical jutsu, and that was limited, lowered his bow as Annabeth walked forward with 3 other teens around her age. "Annabeth, come on, I said you could borrow the chariot, not destroy it." "Yeah, Annabeth." "Shut up, Leo." "Well, I'm sorry, but it was an emergency. I'll get it fixed." Naruto ignored their conversation, looking over the newcomers with interest as he locked his staff back into place. One was a teen nearly as tall and as built as he was, blonde much like himself, but with electric blue eyes that had a look of confusion and worry in them. "This is Jason," Leo said in a deep voice, "I'm in enemy territory." Jason smacked him in the arm, but had an amused smile on his face. Next to him was a girl of what he was told to be Native American descent. She was pretty, arguably as pretty as his sisters, making Naruto wonder if she was one. "I am, and I have an awesome brother, SWEET." Piper smirked, "Oh man, her other was so lucky." And finally came the short teen, and there was sympathy from Naruto, being the runt of the class himself. "Thanks bro." With tanned skin and features much like Naruto's friends in Cabin 11, aside from the curly dark hair. "Wrong guess, wait for it." Leo smirked and laughed. And the fiery hammer above his head. "There it is. Thanks dad." "Meh, no problem." So he had a new stepbrother. "Cool." "No, it's hot." "Lame, Leo." "Shush Jason, you're ruining my moment." What if Naruto son of Hephaestus and Aphrodite? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.